Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Survival, The Evolution of the Evil God Starting from Spiders. Chapter 121. In the early morning, the fog is hazy. Lu Zimo, Ali and Bingyu were already walking slowly in one direction of the dark forest. As for Gong Chaoman, he spreads his wings in the sky and soars in the 9 heavens. Hey! With a very high-pitched neighing, she actually broke through the clouds and shuttled through them. However, if you look carefully, you will definitely find that this very handsome blue giant eagle is actually following the figures above the sky and the earth. And these figures are clearly his current partners. A powerful spider that looks like a monster. A very obedient fox. There is also a taciturn but rather mysterious human mage. What a strange combination. With a sigh, Gong Chaoman spread his wings again. However, at this moment, what Gong Chaoman did not notice was that in a corner of the dark forest. Look, that's high-ranking monster, Qingfang Eagle. Among the sudden exclamations, one figure after another was in disbelief. However, for a moment, as if he realized something, another person said in surprise. Wait a minute, look, this green-winged eagle seems to be still young. What? There was another exclamation, and the group of figures stood up suddenly. Childhood, the superior monster Qingfengying. What does that mean? Needless to say, one figure after another couldn't help but breathe harder. Wealth, proper wealth. A young high-level monster like this, placed in major auction houses, could be enough to exchange for their mercenary group's food and clothing for a year. Thinking of this, all these figures couldn't sit still. One of the burly men with stubble even licked the corner of his mouth. Brothers, do you want to vote for this? Brother, why do you need to say that? There was a chuckle, and a young man in a silver robe also laughed. Not only him, but the others also looked expectant, with a hint of greed on their faces. Without hesitation. There will be no hesitation. As a very elite mercenary group, they have clear actions and clear operations. One person holds the direction of the Qingfang Eagle, and the others rush towards the path that the Qingfang Eagle must pass. There is a very huge canyon. That's a good place for an ambush. Aha, aha. In the continuous sky, these 8 figures were all agile and much more terrifying than ordinary monsters. At this time, if you pay attention to their clothes, you will definitely be able to find a very vicious wolf head on their chests. The Evil Wolf Mercenary Group is a famous mercenary group in nearby human cities. Take the elite route. Each one is at level 40 or 50. Using the human hierarchy system, for example, everyone is a 4th or 5th level warrior, even a magister. Such combat power can be considered extremely tyrannical when placed in surrounding cities. You must know that 6th level beings, that is, beings above level 60, are enough to be considered real strong in the human world. Such existences are extremely rare, and all of them are highly respected and hold great power. There are such existences. Except for some famous mercenary groups in the mainland, there are no other mercenary groups. Like the current leader of the Wolf Mercenary Group, a 5th level swordsman, his mercenary guild is considered to be second to none. And now, the Wolf Mercenary Group is eyed that green-winged eagle spreading its wings in the sky. Such a monster is simply a treasure in the eyes of their mercenary group. Childhood, a superior monster, or a flying monster. One of these looks ordinary, but 3 of them are superimposed, which is a suffocating existence. Moreover, the most important thing is that if someone among them contains such existence and sign a master-servant contract, then their mercenary group will probably undergo a qualitative change. So, rush. With a loud shout, these figures also rushed to a Grand Canyon. Not long after that, Lu Zimo, who was still on his way, suddenly paused. Amidst the sudden condensation, Lu Zimo also raised his eyes sharply and looked at the sky. However, he didn't wait for his reminder. Boom! Along with the terrifying roar, the entire sky reverberated with an extremely harsh scream. Looking for the sound, I saw a spear tearing through the sky and piercing Chaoman, the Qingfeng Ying Palace in Tianyu. Stab it! It was like the sound of flesh and blood being torn apart, and bright red blood spurted out. Accompanying it was an extremely shrill scream. That was Chaoman's cry from Qingfeng Yinggong. Her wings were penetrated by this spear, revealing a huge hole. Chong Li. As he screamed again, Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman's entire body fell from the sky. Xiaoman. Amidst the sudden exclamation, Ali also trembled violently and rushed out subconsciously. Although she and Gong Xiaomin had not known each other for a short time, but the relationship between the two is very good. But now, however, before Ali could rush out, Lu Zimo raised his sickle foot and stopped him. Don't be impulsive, be human. Moreover, he is not an ordinary strong human being. While speaking softly, Lu Zimo's eyes were also focused on the top of the canyon in the distance, where several figures had already appeared. They all looked excited, staring at the Qingfeng eagle falling from the sky. There seemed to be an indescribable ecstasy deep in his eyes. However, at this time, these guys did not notice that there was a black spider the size of a millstone, and its 8 blood-red vertical pupils were already shining with a chilling light. How dare you take action against his people? Very good. Really good. Amidst the continuous sighs, Lu Zimo's feet were constantly changing. Sometimes it turns into a sickle. Sometimes it turns into a sharp long knife. And the magic power around him began to boil at some point. Just don't be impulsive. Just because he felt a strong aura. These guys are very strong. Moreover, it is not generally powerful. Although he is not afraid on his own, it is a bit difficult to protect Gong Xiaomin. Trust. So, during a period of silence, Lu Zimo also rarely said in the regional chat channel. Divine Spider. In the dark forest, in the southeast direction, in a canyon, 8 very powerful humans appear. If you can, leave them behind. And when Lu Zimo said this, the entire regional chat channel couldn't help but shake. The name of Godly Spider is still somewhat loud. Especially, in the past 6 months, the Divine Spider has killed countless people, which has frightened all the beasts. Its strong and stern attitude is frightening to even these players, not to mention those monsters. But now, he suddenly spoke up in the group. Humans again, there are quite a few human mercenary groups that have come here recently. Indeed, but the spider boss has spoken, I will definitely come. Kill them, hee. Among the continuous responses, many players were excited. After all, these are the few who can fight side by side with the spider. And at this moment, 8 powerful humans. Suddenly, a very huge and colorful tiger roared fiercely. Ho, ho. Amidst the continuous roars, the sound waves spread, and his whole body was moving towards the direction of Lu Zi. What he likes most is fighting. Moreover, he still owes the Divine Spider a favor. Therefore, for this kind of thing, the most positive thing is. And just at the same time. Wow, Lord Spider, you are going to fight humans. Among the sounds full of joy, a colorful deer was jumping up and down, a little excited. She has little interest in fighting humans. But the Lord Spider she likes, is there. And this was enough to attract her to go. Therefore, with a slight leap, her entire body turned into a ball of colorful light and rushed towards the southeast of the dark forest. And just on the other side, Sister, the Divine Spider discovered a few powerful humans and asked us to keep him. Amid the sudden call, the monster player also looked not far away. There, Sister Rabbit, the boss of their organization, and Brother Huo were still discussing future development. However, at this time, after hearing the voice of this monster player, Yu Gongmian and Charizard immediately pulled their consciousness into the regional chat group. AICD, sure enough, the Divine Spider was saying, there are 8 powerful humans. Quote, are you going? While asking softly, Charizard also looked at Moonlight Rabbit. Although he is the second in command in the organization. But the real right to speak lies with this very white rabbit. Go, of course go. With a chuckle, Moonlight Rabbit also continued. The spider boss has extremely powerful appeal. His call this time will definitely attract many monster players. And at that time, we can recruit some members. Listening quietly, Charizard also nodded, somewhat agreeing. Moreover, we can also close the relationship with the spider boss, which will be beneficial to our future development. Nodding slightly, Moonlight Rabbit also jumped first and rushed towards the southeast of the dark forest. And not long after, ho, ho, yin, yin, yin. Amid the roars, nearly 20 unique monsters emerged from this canyon and rushed toward the southeast of the dark forest. This is a player under Moonlight Rabbit. Moreover, they are all good at fighting. There are wind and wave players who can spit out wind blades. There is an extremely ferocious demon lizard. Those monster players who are not good at fighting stay behind and are responsible for sorting out food and other tasks. This is the basic prototype of an organization at present. And now, just when Lu Zi said those words, he also raised his eyes and looked at the top of the canyon in the distance. There, 8 figures jumped down together and rushed towards the place where Chowman fell in Qingfengying Palace. Run. Run. A sudden voice sounded in Lu Zimo's ears, but Gong Chowman sensed the crisis and asked Lu Zimo to retreat. Able to cross hundreds of meters with one blow, she can. Such strength is definitely not something that ordinary people can imagine. Moreover, there are 8 of these guys. Therefore, Lu Zimo is waiting to die if he stays here. Might as well leave as soon as possible. However, at this time, man couldn't help but feel sad. Has it ended before she even started? I tried hard to flap my wings, but other than slowing down my fall, there was nothing else I could do. This spear seems to have the power of sealing, suppressing the surge of her magic power. These idiots. While feeling resentful in her heart, Gong Chowman also noticed the 8 figures rushing towards her from a distance. However, what Gong Chowman didn't notice at this time was that Lu Zi disappeared from the spot without knowing when. Shua. Fast, unimaginably fast, the surrounding scenery was moving backwards. Lu Zimo rushed towards the location of Gong Chaobi at extremely high speed. He couldn't help but watch Gong Chowman die. So, he planned to take action. Moreover, he still took action without reservation. Boom! Amid the sudden roar, terrifying dark magic power continued to gather between his raised sickle feet. In just a moment, a black energy ball the size of a human head appeared. This dark energy ball is like a black hole, absorbing all light and heat. And the very next moment, go to me! With a loud shout, Lu Zimo unceremoniously threw the dark energy ball in the direction of the 8 figures charging at high speed. Careful, run quickly! A sudden exclamation sounded from the crowd. But before they can react, boom! There was a sudden roar, the earth was shaking, and boundless wind and waves were rolling up. Visible to the naked eye, everything within 100 meters radius was engulfed in darkness. Even a dozen big trees completely disappeared into the deep invisible darkness. Ahem! A sudden cough rang out from the dust swirling up in the sky. Looking around, there were actually several people gathered together, and in front of them, there was a very strange whirlpool of wind. It was a wind shield, a type of wind attribute magic. Control the wind and turn it into a shield, blocking all attacks. It was this wind shield that withstood most of the damage. Of course, not everyone is protected by this wind shield. Looking carefully, there are 3 more people, either standing on the branches or standing in the distance. They reacted quickly and escaped the attack range of the dark energy ball immediately. It's just that at this moment, these humans looked at the huge crater of tens of meters that suddenly appeared on the ground not far away, their expressions constantly changing. There was a hint of horror in it. What is it? A member of the wolf mercenary group was also puzzled by the sudden inquiry. Have no idea. Shaking his head, a human holding a spear looked at his right arm with lingering fear. There, a large area of flesh and blood had been corroded. If his reaction had been slower than half a beat, he would have disappeared into the darkness. It should be a monster. And it's not an ordinary monster. In sudden response, a burly man with stubble also looked at the forest warily. The dark forest has tall trees and countless branches intertwined, shrouding the entire forest in shadow. But now, 8 human beings gathered in a rare gathering and looked in all directions with vigilance. There are even several people who are looking high into the sky. The wolf mercenary group has been established for many years, and there is a tacit understanding among the members. When encountering a crisis, be vigilant immediately. However, at this moment, as if he had discovered something, the human holding a spear suddenly exclaimed. Over there! As he finished speaking, the spear in his hand suddenly came out of his hand and penetrated into the distance. Boom! Amidst the sudden roar, the big tree exploded, revealing a figure as black as ink. This looks like a spider. It's just much bigger than ordinary spiders. But what's more important is that his eyes actually have vertical pupils. 8 blood-red vertical pupils. While staring quietly, a chilling aura also spread. It's the Scythe of Blades, a very ferocious mid-range monster. While speaking softly, everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Although this guy is fierce, he is still a mid-range monster. It shouldn't be too powerful. So, after looking at each other, the leader of the mercenary group, the evil wolf, also said, "Leave 2 people behind, and the others will follow me to find the high-ranking monster, the Green Gang Eagle." With a response, these figures were divided into 2 teams. However, before the 6 people led by the evil wolf left, Luzimo also took the initiative to launch an attack. During this period of time, Bingyu was by my side. He also learned a lot of human languages. Naturally, I understand what these guys mean. You really look down on me. With a sneer, Luzimo also became angry. Really angry, not only because Gong Chaoman was injured, but also because these guys ignored him. So, as the sickle foot keeps changing, a very sharp blade has emerged. With a loud shout, Luzimo also accelerated violently. The whole body was filled with deep red flames. Boom! The terrifying speed set off a storm, as powerful as a wolf, and the others' expressions changed. And at the next moment, under the horrified gazes of the evil wolves, a blade as black as ink slashed hard at him. Boom! Just a roar was heard. Luzidi's sickle foot has been slashed hard by the wolf's powerful force. Kacha kacha! One after another, the earth seemed to be unable to withstand the terrifying force and continued to crack. And at this moment, leader, boss, they exclaimed repeatedly, and several people reacted quickly and came to kill them immediately. But, at this moment, magic surged. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hearing continuous bursts of air, thousands of spider threads shot out from Luzimo's body. These spider silks are like spiritual snakes. As it continued to wind, it turned into very thick thread pillars one after another. There was a crisp sound, and a figure was penetrated by Luzimo's spider thread without even reacting. With a wow sound, a large mouthful of scarlet blood spurted out, and this figure also looked at the figure not far away in disbelief. How can this be? How could this happen to a mere sickle? But now, it seems that it is not the time to care about this. Just because a human holding a big sword actually avoided Luzimo's strangulation whip one after another and stabbed towards Luzimo. HMPH. A cold snort. Luzimo also opened his mouth. Jurjurji. The piercing scream, like countless blades slicing through the glass, erupted in an instant. All around, the expressions of several figures approaching Luzi changed drastically. What's more, the blood came from the ears. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Luzimo raised his knife fiercely and slashed at the figure holding a long sword. But the next moment, boom, with a sudden roar, this figure with a big knife and a stubble on his face stopped in front of Luzimo. Be careful, this bladed sickle is different from the previous ones. With a reminder, the magic power around the wolf also surged. An angry battle. A loud shout was heard, and a blood-red sword energy more than 10 meters long spurted out. Boom! Accompanied by a terrifying giant lizard sound, the ground was torn apart. And Luzimo's pupils couldn't help but shrink. This is the power of numbers of people. Shaking his head helplessly, Luzimo spit out the spider silk and flew to a very huge tree. There are so many people, it's really hard to handle. Especially these guys are still human beings, very intelligent and know how to cooperate. 1 or 2, it's not difficult to compete. But 3 or 4, or even 5 or 6, would be a bit troublesome. Well, with a sigh, Luzimo also decided to fight with them. Pulling, a necessary tactic. After all, he is strong alone. Even against the strongest human being, he is not even half as weak. But there are so many of them that I can't stand it. So, aha, aha, aha. Along with the continuous piercing of the sky, Luzimo's countless spider threads were constantly entangled, turning into finger-thick thread pillars, and constantly attacking the figures not far away. These lines of his are like poisonous snakes, all moving according to his heart. Extremely scary. There's something wrong with this spider. Are the spider silks of other scythes so weird? Amidst the continuous exclamations, the expressions of one human mercenary after another changed drastically. Such spider threads are really shocking. However, what these guys didn't notice at this time was that a number of very transparent threads were quietly spreading towards a figure not far away. It was a figure as burly as a brown bear. This guy was half a beat too slow to react before. Therefore, His body was penetrated by Lu Zimo's thread. Now the bleeding is not stopping, and he is visibly weakened. And now, Lu Zimo is trying to control him through the puppet thread. The battle is still going on, with Lu Zimo controlling the strangling whip, 1 against 6, 10 strangling whips, like crazy demons, dancing around Lu Zimo. As for why there are 6 people, that's because there are 2 people. One is the big man who looks like a brown bear. He looked pale and covered his abdomen, the big hole that was constantly bleeding. And another person, suspected to be a magician, was actually curing this big man. While sweating profusely, the wounds of this big man who looked like a brown bear were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Wait for me, I will chop you to death right away. Amidst the crazy yelling, this burly man who looked like a brown bear was also furious. This time it was very humiliating. Almost killed by a scythe. However, the speed of this blade scythe is really insane. The leader of the group, the wolf, couldn't keep up with his speed. And, more than that, what the hell are those spider silks? Like tentacles, they keep attacking. Weird and unpredictable. Just, at this moment. Alright, during the sudden narration, a young man shrouded in a black robe also smiled. 80% of his injuries have been recovered and his combat strength has been restored. So now, standing up slowly, the magician also raised his eyes and looked at the figure flexibly shuttled not far away. Next, it's time to end. As he said this, the magician also took out a magic wand from somewhere and said, "The wind element is everywhere, please bind me." But don't wait for the magician's words to fall. No, a sudden roar came from behind him. And at the next moment, the magician felt a sharp pain coming from his back. He slowly lowered his gaze, and all he saw was the bleeding tip of the knife emerging from his body. Little sixth brother, what are you doing? Amidst repeated exclamations, the other members also discovered the incredible scene behind them. Their 4th brother, a big man as big as a brown bear, actually penetrated their 6th brother from behind with a knife. This, not to mention them, even this guy himself couldn't believe it. It's not me, my body is out of control. Amidst the very shrill roar, this big man who looked like a brown bear collapsed. The tears kept flowing. Fear, I have even more unspeakable regrets. He actually penetrated his 6th brother. How can this be? But at this moment, he felt as if his body had lost control. No. Amid the horrified shouts, he saw him pick up the knife again and strike hard at his 6th brother. Stab it. Mixed with the sound of flesh and blood being torn apart, his 6th brother, a mage with the feng shui dual system, fell down unwillingly. Until the moment when his consciousness was completely blurred, he didn't understand. He didn't understand why his 4th brother would do this. It's not me, it's really not me. It is said that men do not play lightly, but at this time, this big man who looked like a brown bear had red eyes, and his voice was filled with tears. It's this monster. Amidst the sudden condensation, the leader of the group, Wolf, also discovered something unusual. His 4th brother's body was too stiff. It looks like it's being manipulated. And thinking like this, the leader of the group, the evil wolf, also noticed that this bladed sickle was lying on a tall tree at some point, its sickle feet constantly trembling. I found it. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zimo didn't care much. However, at this time, Lu Zimo discovered that his level IV4 talent, the puppet line, seemed a bit scary. He is actually able to silently control humans of more than 40 levels. Of course, this has a lot to do with the injury of this human being. I'm injured. Attention is inevitably distracted. He didn't realize that something strange was wrapped around his body. By the time he reacted, Lu Zimo's spider silk had already clung to his body and it was too late to cut it off. So, as his sickle feet trembled, Lu Zimo also controlled the big man like a brown bear and walked towards the others. However, this big man should be the reason why he used control for the first time. It's very unskilled to control. He walks like a zombie. Moreover, he seemed to be trying his best to resist, and Lu Zimo felt that his puppet strings were trembling, as if they were about to burst. Good luck. With a sigh, Lu Zimo was also a little lucky that the one just now was a magician. The physical body is too fragile. Otherwise, it would be really difficult for him to control this guy and kill the magician. After all, now, Sui Zemo can only use this puppet, 1/10 of its strength. Not even 1/10. The only way to succeed is to sneak attack the magician. As for other strong men, especially those with keen awareness and good at melee combat, even if they do make a sneak attack, they will only suffer minor injuries. I have to admit, I like this feeling. Amidst the sudden murmurs, Lu Zemo, who was lying on the tree, was also quietly looking at the humans in the woods, one after another, looking full of fear and horror. Of course, he prefers this human being who looks like a brown bear, with despair and powerlessness on his face. His eyes were red, and his eyes were blurred with tears. No, I killed my sixth brother, I killed my sixth brother. Amidst the desperate roar, this man who looked like a brown bear seemed to be about to collapse. It wasn't just him, the rest of the people also seemed to be dumbfounded, staring at this scene in stunned silence, as if they still couldn't accept it until now. How sad, how powerless, and this is the sorrow of the weak. Of course, it is also his innate ability that the IV4 level puppet Silk is too terrifying. This ability to silently control others is really terrifying. Especially, when you control other teammates and then sneak attack from behind, you feel even more indescribably frightened. Manipulating others to kill each other. Amid the soft murmurs, Lu Zi's black and scarlet eyes couldn't stop flashing. At this time, what Lu Zemo didn't notice was, this figure that looked like a brown bear actually had wisps of gray mist emerging from it. Then, it slowly flew towards his body. This gray mist is very hazy. Others can't seem to see it. But the moment he landed on Lu Zemo's body was shocked. Ding, the host is absorbing negative emotions. Ding, it is detected that the host has the evil god qualification and begins to awaken unknown skills. Amid the repeated prompts, Lu Zemo was also startled. Evil god qualifications. What is that? However, now seems not to be the time to pay attention to this. Just because one human being after another is going crazy. Boom boom. The terrifying momentum continued to rise, and these guys seemed to be bursting into flames, charging towards Lu Zemo. And this is something dogs understand well. After all, Lu Zemo manipulated their brothers to kill each other, which was not ordinary cruelty. So, one after another, the members of the mercenary group were like crazy, their eyes were bloodshot. However, when they all came towards Lu Zemo smiled. Here we come. While muttering softly, Lu Zemo also saw a very huge figure rushing towards him in the distance. Roar. The roar seemed to come from ancient times, and the entire forest was shaken. Even the members of these mercenary groups were shocked when the waves of sound reverberated. And at the next moment, what caught their eyes was a very ferocious and terrifying tiger claw. Roar. With another roar, Forest Tiger player Sun Hu slapped a member of the mercenary group unceremoniously. And, it's not just him. Further afield, Spider God. Amid the very excited call, a ball of colorful light bounced and shot over. It was a calico fawn. But for such a small deer, the speed is astonishingly fast. And a strange light surged around her. Please go to sleep. The laughter that was like silver bells was rippling with light, but it made people feel drowsy, and most of their fighting spirit was lost. And this is the real power of the three-color deer, dream control. She can make people sleepy and let others to sleep. And a three-color deer like this one has another name, the dream deer, an extremely rare monster. Moreover, what is even more shocking is that this is also a high-level monster. Yes, another high-level monster. Dream deer. According to legend, this kind of monster will only guard the side of the strange tree, the dream tree. And they are also jumping and wandering in the forest with the dream tree. As for why they are mysterious, that is naturally because they are timid by nature and often hide at the edge of the sight of intelligent creatures. Rather than contacting intelligent beings, they prefer to wander in the dreams of intelligent beings. However, this dreamy deer was reincarnated by the player. It is a little different from the ordinary dreamy deer. But now, the slumber magic surges, covering 100 meters in radius. Not to mention these humans, even Forest Tiger and Lu Zemo couldn't help but tremble. What happened? In shock, Lu Zemo also noticed the intrusion of inexplicable power. If it weren't for his good mental resistance, he was afraid just now. However, at this time, Lu Zimo slowly raised his eyes and was shocked to find that the entire battlefield was in a state of shock. Especially that human beings seemed to be a little drowsy, as if he was too tired. Chance. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo used the strangulation whip without thinking. Shua, shua. Accompanying the continuous piercing of the air, the two strangulating whips were already attacking the two sleepy humans like spiritual snakes. Wait, Master Spider, they haven't fallen asleep yet. Among the sudden exclamations, the three-color Lu Ningkai also screamed. Her sleeping magic is different from ordinary magic. The starting conditions are somewhat harsh. That means you must not attack them when they are asleep. Otherwise, you will wake up. Yes, wake up. The threat of death will wake them from their slumber. This is the instinct of the living. Then, like this. Bang, bang. There were two roars in succession, and the two humans suddenly raised their knives and blocked Lu Zi's strangulation whip. Forehead. During a period of silence, Lu Zimo also heard the reminder from the three-color deer Ningkai. Okay, excuse me, he seems to have done something bad. But that's it. These guys are already dead. Just because, during this period of time. Ho, ho. Hiss, hiss. Amidst the roars one after another, many monsters came out of this forest. A lizard with a body burning with fire. There are also hazy rabbits. And a big snake covered in white scales. Player. Everyone is a player. At Lu Zimo's call, they gathered together. But these humans were completely dumbfounded. How can it be? What happened? Amidst the continuous exclamations, these humans were sweating profusely as they looked at the monsters that were gradually gathering around them. These monsters from different races actually coexist peacefully. Moreover, they came from all directions and surrounded them tightly. Are you kidding me? Amidst the disbelieving exclamations, the evil wolf, who had just recovered from the sleeping magic, also looked at the monsters one after another in horror. Have times changed, or is he unable to keep up with the times? The Moonlight Rabbit and the Charizard can stand together. The Charizard's diet seems to include the Moonlight Rabbit, right? And that one, could it be the legendary Dreamy Deer? Isn't this an extremely rare high-level monster? Moreover, isn't this kind of monster very timid? Why? Puzzled, confused. But what was more shocking was that at this moment, the evil wolf felt that his worldview was about to collapse. But compared to him, one after another the monster players also looked at each other. Immediately, they all unanimously launched an offensive against these humans. 1 year. It's been a full year. None of the players who have survived to this day are good. So, what if we are successful human beings in this world? They are fearless. Moreover, it is worth mentioning that monsters of the same level are generally stronger than humans. And this is understandable. The monster's body is so powerful that it cannot be compared to the fragile human body. However, now, it seems that there is more than one reason. In the past, humans could still rely on wisdom to deal with monsters. But now, these monster players all possess wisdom no less than that of humans. Moreover, what is even more frightening is that the monster players have more or less strengthened their bodies or strengthened their skills. In this way, one can also imagine the strength of monster players. Obviously the highest level is no more than 30. But now when they all attack these humans who are in their 40s and 50s, these humans are really unable to resist. Whip legs. During the sudden burst of laughter, Moonlight Rabbit's right leg actually threw out an afterimage, and it hit a member of the mercenary group hard. Bang! There was a loud noise, and the man flew out like a cannonball, breaking several trees. And on the other side, roar! With a sudden roar, a ball of terrifying flames engulfed a human mercenary. These are monster players, all of them are so powerful that it's terrifying. Far beyond the imagination of these humans. What the hell are these guys? In the unimaginable shock, the evil wolf was still a little confused until now. Why, will these monsters live in peace, or even besiege them? Could it be that a monster king appeared here and controlled these monsters? But how is this possible? The king of monsters, to say the least, he is also a top-level monster. Moreover, it is still an adult high-level monster. It's not something that the two underage high-level monsters here can compare to. Moreover, what is the strength of these monsters? Although they are only at the 3rd level, why are they all so tough and fierce? The strength of other monsters is not at the same level at all. His heart was horrified, and the evil wolf also felt it. He was more shocked today than he had ever been in his life. However, it seems that now is not the time to consider this. Run, must run. If he doesn't run away, I'm afraid he will stay. So, gritting his teeth, the evil wolf also ordered his other subordinates, saying, "Run separately." As he spoke, he took the lead and shot off in one direction. "Never let one go." Suddenly shouting violently, Moonlight Rabbit looked like a big sister. "Yes, Sister Rabbit." In the chorus of responses, one by one the monster players also chased the escaping humans. As for Lu Zemo, he had already chosen to rest and watch the battlefield quietly. It came just in time. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zemo sighed, "There is strength in numbers. Although he can fight 1 against 8. Give him time, and he can even kill them all. But there are still certain risks. Moreover, it is very troublesome." But after these monster players arrived, things were different. Even if the individual strength is not as good as that. But if they were beaten together, even these humans would not be able to survive. They have always been the ones besieging monsters. Today, unexpectedly, they enjoyed the pleasure of being besieged by monsters. With a sneer, Lu Zemo's eyes also fell on his attribute panel. Just now, he seemed to have awakened an unknown ability. Now, Lu Zemo was startled as he focused on the properties panel. This is, while muttering softly, Lu Z also noticed an extra line of blood-red words. Yes, blood-red. Feast of Despair power. You can absorb all negative emotions, and you can also turn these negative emotions into the purest food, greatly improving your mental power. All negative emotions are your most delicious food. While staring quietly, Lu Zemo's eyes also condensed. Feast of Despair power. With a murmur, Lu Z also felt that there was a lot more information in his mind. That is a more detailed introduction to Feast of Despair. It is also a further summary of power. Qian Deshao. The Feast of Despair is a power that belongs exclusively to the evil god, or the dark god, and power is the most basic and terrifying ability of the god. Power is superior to ordinary abilities. It is an ability that only gods can control. And Lu Zemo is now awakening to power, which has more symbolic meaning than practical significance. What it represents is that he has the possibility of becoming a god. Has the potential to become a god. And now it seems, Lu Zemo is very suitable to become a dark god, or to fall and become a true evil god. There is no way. His Feast of Despair is really dark to the extreme. It actually absorbs other people's negative emotions. Doesn't this mean that Lu Zemo needs to do many bad things? Of course, the most direct way is to continuously torture the enemy like just now, and then make him despair, fearful, and even powerless. The Feast of Despair can turn negative emotions into the purest power and use it to enhance mental strength. And my mental power is linked to the spider silk. The stronger my mental power is, the more terrifying the spider silk will be. So to say, while murmuring softly, Lu Zemo also had a flash of light in the depths of his eyes. If that's the case, then his future is probably unimaginable. Don't forget, he is in charge of the Law of Thread. As for the Law of Thread, in the later stages, it can turn everything into silk threads and open up a realm-like existence. However, is this all there is to the Law of Lines? No, far from it. It's just that Lu Zemo didn't dare to think about it in the past. I don't want to think about it either. Because, it is too difficult to think of reaching that point. But now, with this terrifying power, Lu Zemo dares to think about the end of the Law of Lines. Shouldn't the ultimate of the Law of Lines be cause and effect, fate? Connect cause and effect. If there is a cause, there must be an effect. Outline destiny and turn it into a destiny thread, weave the destiny of everything. Among the soft murmurs, Lu Zemo was also a little excited. This is the true way to open up the Law of Lines. It's just that it's too difficult to do this. To put it bluntly, this requires at least Lu Z to become a god. Only in this way can he weave everything with spider silk. As for becoming a god mentally, Lu Zemo really didn't dare to think about it. Just because, if it were strengthened with evolution points, it would be hundreds of billions, or even trillions, at least. Even more. But now, with this power, Feast of Despair, everything is different. Lu Zimo can use this power to increase his mental power without limit. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zimo was also looking forward to it. If I can really use spider silk to weave cause and effect and weave destiny, then I will most likely become the most powerful spider in the world, the spider of destiny, controlling destiny. All the worlds are in my spider web. In the somewhat excited voice, Lu Zimo also felt the negative emotions in his body, which had turned into the purest energy at some point. Try it and see if you can improve your mental strength. Thinking of this, Lu Zihei also surged with this unknown energy. And the very next moment, boom, amidst the sudden roar, Lu Zimo also felt his mind shaken. Immediately afterwards, a clear current circulated. In a trance, his mind was a little clearer. However, this is not important. What's really important is that his mental power is really growing. After the second enhancement of brain development, the 50 points increased to 51 points. Although, it's just a little bit of growth. But this is also real growth. And, you know, the spirit is the hardest thing to improve. Strength, physique, and agility will improve through exercise or evolution. But mental strength, until now, seems to be improved only by developing the brain. And this is also the reason why Lu Zimo's spirit is far inferior to strength, agility, and physique. But now, he has found a direct path to becoming a god. Taking a deep breath, Lu Zimo could not suppress the excitement in his heart. However, at this moment, as if he thought of something, Lu Zimo's eyes also fell on negative emotions. This power is somewhat evil. Need to absorb the negative emotions of others. And, the more purely negative emotions, the better. This also means that Lu Zimo must play with other people's souls wantonly like the legendary evil god and devil. Only in this way can he achieve plunder as quickly as possible. AICF. Even at this moment, Lu Zimo doubted whether those dark evil gods had similar powers, so they repeatedly played with other people's souls. Only then can we understand that they played with and beguiled over and over again until they finally swallowed. Of course, these are just Lu Zimo's conjectures. Now, the most important thing is to sort out the loot. He raised his eyes and glanced at the human magician lying on the ground not far away. Lu Zimo also accelerated and walked towards the body of the human magician. This human magician is a 4th level magician, which is also a level 40 existence. In the human world, it is not bad. There should be some good treasures. And now, spun silk, countless spider silk wrapped this figure into a rice dumpling. Lu Zimo also chose to retreat unceremoniously. As for the rest of humanity, with so many monsters chasing him, he shouldn't have to worry. Come on. Lifting his eyes and looking at the terrifying aftermath of the battle in the distance, Lu Zimo also smiled. He believed that these monster players would not suffer. After all, he had just fought 1 against 8, but it had consumed a lot of physical strength and magic power from those humans. Moreover, their spirits were also tortured. If this is the case, it would be too expensive if the players can't get these monsters. Just, at this moment, Spider God, amidst the sudden call, a 3-color deer jumped over and ran over. Who are you? A little stunned, Lu Zimo also looked at this little deer curiously. There was no impression in his mind. I'm Ning Kai, the deer you saved last time. Amidst the exciting introduction, the little deer also jumped up to Lu Zimo. However, for some reason, Lu Zi felt that the gaze seemed a little fiery. Especially hot, it made him a little uncomfortable. Master Spider, are you okay? Fine. Shaking his head, Lu Zi also wanted to retreat. This girl is a bit strange. Yes, girl. Her voice is that kind of ethereal girlish voice, dreamlike and astonishing. However, this girl's gaze was too fiery, and Lu Zimo couldn't get used to it. However, what surprised Lu Zimo was that the deer was jumping up and down behind him. What are you doing? I want to walk the path that the spider god walked. Forehead. During a period of silence, a word came to Lu Zimo's mind for some unknown reason. Licking the dog. No, how could you say that? This little deer looked at him with particularly fiery eyes. This should be a die-hard fan. They have exactly the same look and demeanor as those crazy fans in the previous life. Why are you following me? You saved me, and I want to repay your kindness, so I need to be by your side. In response, the dreamy deer jumped even more cheerfully. Lu Zi was stunned when he saw it. With a slight jump, you are a few meters away. This speed is a bit outrageous. Moreover, this guy has a hazy radiance overflowing from his body, making people feel a little drowsy. This guy's race is. Squinting his eyes slightly, Lou Zemo also activated his detection skills. Race. Dream deer, a very rare high-level monster, extremely mysterious. Natal talent. Dream control, be able to control other people's dreams and even guide others into dreamland. Watching quietly, Lou Zemo was also slightly shocked. This guy is also a high-level monster. Are you kidding me? The real high-level monster shouldn't be the kind of Gong Xiaoman's mother, who has the power to destroy the world and destroy the earth. When her wings flutter, the storm she sets off is enough to wipe out a small town, right? But this girl, no matter how you look at it, it doesn't look like it. At this time, Lou Zemo seemed to have thought of something, and went to ask the Spider Queen for advice. Divine Spider. Spider Queen, have you ever heard of the Dreaming Deer? Little Spider Queen. Dream Deer. Have you met it? Then you have to be careful. This kind of monster is very strange. It can kill people in dreams. It is very scary. In my memory, there seems to be an adult dreamy deer, swaying its branches, guides the creatures of a city into dreamland. Little Spider Queen. Of course, Dreamy Fawn is very kind and timid. Unless you make her anxious, she usually won't hurt you. Listening quietly, Lou Zemo looked at the three-color deer, and his eyes became more and more weird. It's hard to imagine that this is really a high-level monster. But forget it. Gong Xiaoman was injured, so he rushed to help her now. With this in mind, Lou Zemo also accelerated. Boom! Along with the terrifying roar, his entire body turned into a stream of light, shooting towards the depths of the forest. And not long after that, looking at Qingfeng Ying Gong Xiaoman, who was curled up on the ground with most of his injuries healed, Lou Zemo also breathed a sigh of relief. Sorry to trouble you, Ari. While whispering instructions, Lou Zemo also looked at the little fox not far away. At this moment, the surface of her body was filled with cold light. This is the blessing of the moon god. A skill unique to the little fox. This skill can be described as a panacea. Not only can it refresh you, but it can also speed up your own recovery. As a high-level monster, Gong Xiaoman's own recovery ability is not weak. Now, with Ali's help again, recovery is naturally quick. Just, at this time. I want to kill them, I must. Amid the sound of gnashing his teeth, Gong Xiaoman was also a little angry. She flew well in the sky, but she almost died. Those fools. Asshole. However, even as he was cursing, Xiaoman broke into a cold sweat. Almost. It was really close. If Lou Zemo hadn't been here, she would have. With this thought in mind, she, who had always been proud, couldn't help but raise her eyes, glanced at Lou Zemo, and said gratefully, "Thanks. It should." As he spoke, Lou Zemo also explained, "If you hadn't been standing guard at high altitude for us, you wouldn't have flown so low." Lou Zemo's words were naturally not said casually. As a high-level monster, even if Gong Xiaoman is not an adult, it is impossible for him to fly only a few hundred meters high. Beings like them, thousands of meters in the air, are very common. This is a general high-altitude strike. It's hard to threaten them with anything like throwing spears or long-range magic. However, in order to stand sentry for Lou Zemo and better capture the surrounding situation, Gong Xiaoman flew at a low altitude, allowing these humans to find an opportunity. Thinking about it this way, Lou Zemo still has to bear part of the blame. However, at this moment, as if he thought of something, he also threw the yellow one behind his back with his wrist. This is the magician among them who has been killed by me. As for the other humans, none of them should be able to escape. The army of monsters is chasing them desperately. Thanks. Once again feeling grateful, Gong Xiaoman's mood was a little complicated. At this moment, Lu Zi glanced at the magician wrapped in a cocoon and thought of his previous wand. This seems to be a wind magician. While whispering softly, Lu Zimo also manipulated the spider silk to reveal a wooden staff over 1 meter high. On the top of this wooden stick, there is a gem as big as a fist, flashing with hazy light. No, this is not a gem, but the magic core. Moreover, it is also a wind-attributed magic core. Call. In the very soft voice, there were whirlwinds whistling around this magic core. The wind attribute magic core. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo unceremoniously dug out the magic core from the wand. He has the dual attributes of wind and darkness. This wind attribute magic core is also of great use to him. Moreover, it is worth mentioning that many magic cores are engraved with very terrible magic. If Lu Zimo is lucky, he can even use this to comprehend a terrifying wind attribute magic. And this was a temptation that Lu Zi could not refuse. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zimo also collected other trophies. However, what surprised Lu Zimo was that this guy had nothing. After a while of silence, Zizi was also a little confused. These guys come to the wild with nothing. How can this be? However, at this moment, as if he noticed something, Lu Zimo also looked at the ring on the magician's hand. This ring seems a little strange. Just because, at this moment, Lu Zimo felt a faint magic wave from this ring. Could this be the legendary space ring? The space ring is a very rare magic item. In Lu Zimo's world, it is a myth and legend. But in this world, it really exists. However, it is extremely rare and cannot be owned by ordinary people. And now, looking at this ring quietly, Lu Zimo's eyes couldn't stop flashing. If it is really a space ring, it would be interesting. Using his sickle to remove the ring, Lu Zimo also tentatively controlled his mental power and rushed toward the ring. However, at the next moment, there was a barrier blocking Lu Zimo. Really, Lu Zi secretly thought in his heart, and also increased the impact of his mental power. Click. Just hearing a crisp sound, Lu Zimo felt that he had arrived in a mysterious space. This space is not big. 10 cubic meters at most. But these 10 cubic meters are filled with countless things. Lu Zimo saw more than a dozen magic cores alone. And this, not to mention, the magic stones piled together. Of course, more of them are clothes. This is really a space ring. With a confused look on his face, Lu Zimo also put the ring away decisively. This is good stuff. Very convenient for storage. Moreover, it seems that he has no fixed abode and is wandering around. With such a storage ring, he can also carry his luggage better. Time passed slowly, and half a day passed in the blink of an eye. By this time, it was already dusk, the sun had already set towards the other side of the mountain, and darkness began to spread. And at this time, in a corner of the dark forest, several figures have gathered together. A black spider the size of a millstone. With 3 colored deer, there is a big green eagle curled up in the corner. And a lizard whose whole body is burning with flames. And this is the top player in the nearby area. All of them are existences at level 30. Of course, Lu Zimo is a pervert. He is already level 39. About to reach level 40. Therefore, he was just lying on the boulder not far away, and the pressure he exuded was suffocating. Big spider, there is a human who ran away. As he spoke softly, the lizard with its body covered in flames also felt a little guilty. It's all his fault, he was careless. Only then did that human being run away. It's all his fault, he ran away. He shook his head helplessly, and Lu Zimo didn't care much either. However, those who should be reminded still need to be reminded. This human who ran away is probably a threat. When I'm not here in the future, you must pay attention to precautions. You should know the revenge of human beings. That guy will definitely come back. Listening quietly, Charizard, Moonlight Rabbit and others looked at each other with heavy hearts. If the person who ran away really brought someone back to kill him, it's really a bit troublesome. However, at this moment, as if he realized something, Moonlight Rabbit suddenly raised his eyes and said with a hint of astonishment. Master Spider, what do you mean you're not here? I will be leaving soon, to a broader world. While murmuring softly, there was also a hint of expectation deep in Lu Zimo's eyes. He desires, longing to see a wider world, more eager to encounter more powerful monsters. Forehead. During a period of silence, many monsters couldn't help but look at each other. The spider god is actually leaving. Just, at this moment. I want to go too, I want to go too. Suddenly speaking, the 3-colored deer jumped up suddenly. Immediately, she ran to Lu Zimo and said expectantly, Brother Mo, can I follow you? You. Amid some astonishment, Lu Zimo also hesitated. He didn't want to bring more people. Nowadays, there are enough people. However, before Lu Zimo could say anything, the three-color deer had already introduced himself. Brother Mo, I am very powerful. I can use sleeping magic. You know, sleeping magic is extremely rare. With me here, even if we encounter a powerful monster, we can retreat immediately. That's it. While murmuring softly, Lu Zimo's eyes couldn't stop flickering as he looked at the little deer. Really, the sleeping magic is very scary. This is a branch of spiritual magic, which is extremely rare or even rare. In the words of the Spider Queen, this is a treasure. So, after thinking for a while, Lu Zimo also nodded. Then you follow us. Okay, okay. Amid the excited voices, the three-colored deer was also jumping up and down, so excited. In response, Lu Zimo also shook his head helplessly. If you're walking alone, it's better to take it slow. Now, he is not very strong and needs the cooperation of some teammates. In this way, they can fight across levels and hunt more powerful monsters. To put it simply, although Lu Zi is the best person, he can fight with monsters of level 40 or 50. But when encountering a high-level monster above level 60, he estimated that it would be too late to run away. But with these teammates, it's different. Not to mention, he can hunt level 60 monsters. But at least, you can have a touch. And this is the benefit of teammates. However, there is a premise for this, that is, there is no need to drag the oil bottle. Moreover, the entire team must be centered on him. He did not allow this team to have a second voice besides his own. Ari and Bingyu, one is his servant and the other is a puppet. The two of them will only obey Taozi's orders. Although Gong Chaoman is proud, he has a cold temperament and does not like to talk, so he only has some words with Lu Zimo. Therefore, there is no doubt that she is also on Lu Zimo's side. And now Mi Meng's Lu Ningkai. Looking at her girl-obsessed look, Lu Zimo also knew that keeping her would definitely be a good choice. This girl is true love. With a sigh in his heart, Lu Zihei also said goodbye to Moonlight Fish, Spitfire and others. He doesn't like to interact too much with other monster players. Just meet occasionally. And this time, parting. I don't know when we can meet again next time. With his thoughts at this point, Lu Zimo also raised his eyes and looked at the huge forest tiger not far away. At this time, he was licking his paws. Are you leaving? Nodding slightly, Lu Zimo also said goodbye. I hope that next time we meet, you will be stronger. The same to you. After simply bidding farewell to many monster players, Lu Zimo also left without looking back. Following him were naturally Ali, Bingyu, Qingfeng Ying, and Mi Meng Xiaolu. This is an extremely luxurious lineup. There are two high-level monsters. Moreover, these two high-level monsters are extremely impressive. One is a flying monster. You know, high-level monsters are inherently scary. Before the high-level monsters, add the fear of flying, which will at least increase it to 1 level. There is no need to mention the tricolor deer. Having mastered the magic of sleeping, she is destined to be a very scary character. If you were blinded by her innocence, then the end will definitely not be ordinary miserable. If you really want to build a team, then it must be elite-based. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo also made a decision in his heart. People are valuable in their essence, rather than many. Although they are only 5 people now, Lu Zimo believes that the 5 of them are enough to defeat 20 or 30 monster players headed by Moonlight Rabbit and Charizard. Moreover, it is still absolutely crushing. The night was getting darker, and Lu Zimo also took these guys and chose to set up camp in a certain place. By the way, distribute the loot. Yes, distribute the spoils. Before, when hunting 8 humans, except for the magician who had a space ring, the other humans also had it. Except for the guy who escaped, there were 7 space rings. However, compared to the 10 cubic meters that Lu Zimo owns, the other 6 seem to only have 3 cubic meters. The difference can be traced. And this is understandable. A mercenary group like theirs is so powerful that it is not surprising that they have space rings in their hands. As for why the magician's space ring is much larger, that's naturally because the magician has a high status and is richer. What is worth mentioning here is that Moonlight Rabbit and the others very wisely gave 3 of the 6 space rings they had harvested to Lu Zimo. Very reasonable distribution, plus 1 owned by Lu Zimo himself. Their team already has 4. And now, Lu Zimo also gave 2 space rings directly to Qingfeng Yinggang Chaoman, Dreaming Lu Ningkai and Ali. One for each of you. With that said, Lu Zimo also briefly introduced how to open the space ring. Use mental power to attack, and then you can open it. Is this the space ring you just mentioned? Amid some astonishment, Feng Yinggang Chaoman also stared blankly at the ring under his talons. It doesn't seem to fit her. But yes, this is something that humans have after all. Yeah. Nodding slightly, Lu Zimo also explained. I looked at your space ring, and it seems that it is only 3 cubic meters, but it is enough. As he spoke, Lu Zimo spit out the spider silk again. The spider silk continued to twine and turned into a very thin rope. You can just use my spider silk to put the ring on your neck. During the simple explanation, Lu Zimo didn't pay attention to the astonishment of Ali and others. He turned around and walked deeper into the woods. He's going to start honing his skills. Strive to improve the proficiency of other skills. Moreover, he still needs to study this very strange power, the Feast of Despair. As for the space ring he owns, he has complete control over its use. It can be opened with mental power. Before, he also took out the clothes inside. Only the magic core, magic stone, and some things like books are left. The space ring is really convenient. With a chuckle, Lu Zimo also looked at his chest. There is a ring necklace, hanging quietly. And this is his space ring. Use spider silk to weave it into thread, and then turn it into a necklace, which is very convenient to wear around your neck. At this time, as if he thought of something, Lu Zimo also took out the huge wind attribute magic core from the space ring. Boom! Along with a roar and ripples, a fist-sized wind attribute magic core fell into his hand. This is the magic core on the magician's wand. It looks very huge. If your guess is correct, this should be the magic core of a level 50 monster, very scary. And now, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly, and Lu Zimo also absorbed the wind element in the magic core without hesitation. Boom! Just a roar was heard, and with Lu Zimo as the center, a strong wind howled. In just a moment, he was trapped in a storm. And just as Lu Zimo continued to absorb the wind element of this magic core, a sudden reminder also appeared in Lu Zihei's eyes. Ding! You are absorbing the 6th level magic core and gaining the ability to control the wind engraved deep in the magic core. Do you want to spend 100,000 evolution points to learn it? Yu Feng, suddenly startled, Lu Zimo also focused on this ability. Wind control. Be able to use the wind to achieve short-term flight. It was a very simple introduction, but Lu Zimo was stunned. Flying skill. Really a flying skill. Although it is wind magic and has flying skills, it is not surprising. But this sudden arrival of flying skills still made Lu Zimo a little confused. Just like this, a flying skill. Somewhat stunned, Lu Zimo was confused. Flying, the dream of mankind. But in this world, it is not a dream. Just because humans and even monsters can really fly. Especially wind attribute monsters or wind attribute magicians can fly at the 4th level. Of course, this premise is to have a flying skill. For example, wind magicians among humans seem to have systematic teachings. Therefore, at the 4th level, you will more or less master the ability to fly. But wind attribute monsters are different. Whether they can fly depends entirely on whether they can awaken their flying ability. For example, the Wind Fox clan seems to have the ability to walk on the wind. Like the Wind Wolf clan, they can also awaken the Wind Scroll in the later stages. These are all flight abilities. And Lu Zimo is also counting on awakening a flying ability in the future. However, he never thought that when he absorbed a wind attribute magic core, he would be lucky enough to gain a flying ability called Wind Control. Chapter 131. Ding! You have learned the skill, Wind Control. After a reminder, Lu Zimo also felt that there was a lot more information in his mind. Along with this, his perception of the wind continues to increase. In a daze, he became the wind. Become part of the wind. This is Yufeng. While murmuring softly, Lu Zimo also felt his body and everyone's lightness, as if he was about to fly in the next moment. Just hearing a roar, Lu Zimo's entire body began to leave the ground. At this time, if you pay attention, you will definitely be able to see a ball of cyan wind covering Lu Zimo's body. This is Yufeng. Become one with the wind and become a part of the wind. Compared with other flying skills, such as wind walking, phoenix scroll, etc., wind control is more stable and can perform various actions in the sky. Flexible. However, compared to walking on the wind, the speed of riding the wind is also much slower. However, there is no way around it. After all, this flying skill is like the various light skills in martial arts. Each has its own pros and cons. In the future, when Lu Zimo masters more flying skills, he may be able to make up for their respective shortcomings. Or, the ability to control the wind can be continuously improved until it reaches the god level. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zi unceremoniously pounced on the skill of wind control. Boom! During the sudden roar, Lu Zimo was already staggering through the woods. Today, he is not very skilled yet. But if you give him time, he will be able to master the skill of wind control completely. At that time, Lu Zi was also able to truly fly in the sky. Of course, the most terrifying thing is, his combat power will also be greatly improved. Being able to fly in midair is a huge bonus to Lu Zimo. The night was hazy. Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman, Ali, and the dreamy Lu Ningkai and others did not fall asleep. Lu Zi is not the only one who is diligent. They also work hard. ... As she screamed at the moon, the hazy light shone on Ali's body, causing her hair to glow with the hazy moonlight. Although she is a wind fox, but she also awakened the moon attribute, and was able to absorb the moonlight and continue to grow. Moreover, she has also awakened attribute skills for several months. For example, Moon God's Blessing, and Moon God's Prayer. These are all very good bonus skills. 1. In game terms, Ari is a buff master who can buff teammates for training or combat. This strategic significance is not ordinary. Therefore, even though Ali is only over level 20, Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman and Dream Lu Ningkai treat her very well. As sisters. And at the same time. Well, while crowing loudly, the green wind eagle also flapped its wings and roared above the forest. The cold wind was biting, but Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman's sharp eyes were breathtaking. Strong wind. During the sudden roar, Gong Chaoman's wings suddenly glowed with cyan light. Immediately afterwards, boom, there was only a loud noise, and the terrifying storm that swept hundreds of square meters was set off, shattering the clouds in the night sky. Big tornado, wind attribute, range skill, not very lethal on a single target, but extremely wide in scope, able to set off a storm that uproots giant trees. It's not just this big tornado. Gong Chaoman has several similar skills. As a high-level monster, she has many more abilities than ordinary mid-level monsters. It is worth mentioning that the Qingfengying race is not very lethal in close combat. They are more about riding the storm. Therefore, the impression given by Qingfeng Eagle is extremely terrifying. Like a natural disaster, the adult green wind eagle, flying at low altitude, can cause enough storms to flatten a village. Extremely terrifying. However, hidden under the terror is Qingfeng Eagle's fatal weakness. That means the defense is not strong. Just like Gong Chaoman, although he is underage, having a spear pierced his body shows that his defense is low. It's just that, now, it's not a big problem. With Lu Zimo, she doesn't need to defend herself. Now, he only needs to increase the strength of his skills, and the surge is even more terrifying. Leave everything else to Lu Zi. Moreover, it is not only the case for Chao Man and Dream Lu Ningkai from Qingfeng Ying Palace. Now the dreamy deer Ningkai only needs to increase the strength of her skills, to control the field in a large area. The machine will take care of the rest. And this is the prototype of a team. With Gong Chaoman and Ningkai, my hunting speed has been doubled. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo also looked at the sky, the howling wind. These two high-level monsters are truly terrifying. When he abandons his defense and explodes with all his strength, the terrifying level is simply shocking. Just like the current Qingfengying and Gong Chaoman, if she returned to her previous life, she would be able to wipe out a village in just a few minutes. And Ningkai was able to quietly make countless creatures fall asleep. According to her, now she can make people within 200 to 300 meters feel tired, and can also guide them to fall asleep. If the mental resistance is not strong, then you probably don't know how you died. And at this moment, Brother Mo, why are you in midair? A sudden exclamation sounded from a distance. Looking for the sound, a three-colored deer stared at Lu Zimo in disbelief. However, this Wang Nujiao is not to blame for the three-color fawn being shocked. Just because Lu Zixuan was too amazing at the moment. As a spider, he actually moves with the wind, constantly floating in the air. Faintly, one could see a whirlwind surrounding him. From time to time, Lu Zimo is still tumbling in midair. This is Yufang, extremely flexible. You cannot do this by walking on the wind. After all, walking on the wind condenses the whirlwind under your feet and greatly increases your speed, but you lose your flexibility. A flying skill I just learned. In a somewhat proud voice, Lu Zimo also controlled his body, like an arc, floating towards the dreaming deer. However, at the next moment, boom, there was just a crisp sound, and Lu Zimo suddenly fell to the ground. There is no doubt that he was a little distracted by his bluster, so that he failed to pretend. He laughed out loud, and the three-color deer couldn't help laughing. Just because Lu Zimo was really in a sorry state at this time. However, for a moment, looking at Lu Zimo who turned over and climbed up as if nothing had happened, Ning Kai, the three-color deer, also suppressed the smile on his face and asked, "Brother Mo, can I fly too? It shouldn't be possible." After saying that, Lu Zimo also reminded, currently, only wind-attributed monsters and space-attributed monsters can fly at low levels. If you want to fly, at least you need to be a high-level monster. All right. In a somewhat helpless voice, the three-color deer also buried its head with regret. She also wants to fly. It's a pity that she doesn't have wind attribute talent. As for space talent, it is even more impossible to have it. Spatial talent is a top-notch talent that is said to be difficult to have even 1 in a million people. Awakening such talents also means that you have half a foot on the door to the strong. At this time, Lu Zimo patted the dirt on his body and asked proactively, "Why are you here?" "I'm here to see Brother Mo practice." Listening quietly to 340, Lu Zimo couldn't help but become silent. This girl is really a follower. But forget it. Now, the most important thing to him is cultivation. Find a place by yourself, take a good rest or train, I will continue. With that said, Lu Zimo controlled the wind again and flew unsteadily into the sky. Time passed slowly, and 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, Lu Zimo and his party were about to leave the dark forest and rush to another place. That place, according to Bing Yu, seems to be a forest of monsters, with more monsters. Moreover, there are countless powerful monsters. It is the best place to grow. However, if you pay attention to Lu Zimo at this time, you will definitely find that he is different from usual. Just because his entire body was floating in midair, 1 foot away from the ground. 1 foot is 33 centimeters. And now, he is floating 30 centimeters in the sky, constantly flying forward. This month, I walked 10 times without touching the ground. While speaking softly, Lu Zimo also had a look of determination on his face. He wanted to maximize the wind control skill in the shortest possible time. However, I have to say that the skill proficiency of wind control is still very easy to improve. As long as you are flying in midair, you can improve. Now, if you look at the proficiency of Lu Zimo's wind control skill, you can see that this skill is rising steadily. Moreover, it is worth mentioning that the skill of wind control does not consume much. Lu Zimo's current magic power is enough to support him flying in midair for a long time. Considering the recovery speed of magic power, it is not impossible for him to stay in midair. As for sleeping at night, he can also sleep on the cobwebs he spins. So, it is completely feasible for him to stay away from the ground for a month. As long as you don't engage in high-intensity fighting, there will be no problem at all. With a chuckle, Lu Zimo also flew higher into the sky. "I'm sore." Suddenly sighing, the three-colored deer looked at the black spider flying towards the sky not far away, with an envious look on his face. "You will definitely be able to do it in the future." After comforting him, Ali could not help but reveal a smile on his face. "Ever since I learned that Momo could fly, I have been envious of Kair all day long," with a look of envy. "It's still early for me. I don't need to say much until I become an adult." With a sigh, the main color deer was also a little helpless. "It's a high-level monster, which is a very bad place. That is, the adult cycle is very long. It seems that it takes hundreds of years for legendary monsters like dragons to reach adulthood. Even for the elves, it takes more than 100 years to reach adulthood. As for high-level monsters like them, no matter how bad they are, it will still take decades. And this, compared to the 18 or 19-year-old of human beings, is much longer. Of course, if you meet some hardworking people, you can also speed up their adulthood through practice. However, no matter how you calculate it, it will take a long time for Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman and Sansalu Ningkai to reach adulthood. Therefore, Ningkai's desire to fly is still a bit far away. At this moment, Lu Zimo didn't know what Ningkai was thinking. He was flying side by side with Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman in the sky. However, the height Lu Zimo flew was not high. Even if he flies for several days, he can guarantee a smooth flight. Want to speed up? There is still some difficulty. I'll take the first step. With a chuckle, man spread his wings fiercely. Boom! There was just a roar, and in Lu Zimo's stunned eyes, Gong Chaoman cut through the clouds like a fighter jet and disappeared from Lu Zimo's field of vision. This speed is really terrifying. Sighing secretly in his heart, Lu Zimo also knew that he still had a long way to go on his flight. And shortly after that, we seem to be in another area. Most of the names in the regional chat channel are unfamiliar. A sudden voice sounded in Lu Zimo's ears. Looking for fame, it was Ali who had made a new discovery. It's a new area. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo also noticed the chat channel. The Moonlight Rabbit and Charizard, who were very active a few days ago, have disappeared. Instead, there were some unfamiliar names. For example, one horse. Dark Claw Bear. One strange name after another. However, among these names, the one that Lu Zimo cares about most is a guy named Slime Jingjing. As long as this person speaks, the entire chat channel will fall silent. After she finished speaking, most of them were flattery and compliments. From this point alone, you can see the status of this guy in this area. He should be a very powerful and interesting guy. With a chuckle, Lu Zimo was also looking forward to meeting this person. He had a feeling that this guy might have the strength to fight him. Soon after, Lu Zimo and others arrived at a forest different from the dark forest. This forest is full of vitality. Even the air is much fresher. Of course, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that the elements of this forest are even more intense. Just standing quietly, the machine felt countless elements pouring into his body. Taking a deep breath and suppressing the excitement in his heart, Lu Zimo also sighed. A new world is waiting for us. Ha ha. With a chuckle, the white fawn also jumped to Lu Zi's side. However, I have to say that their combination is really strange. One person, one deer, one spider, one green eagle, one white fox. 5 different species gather here. But his eyes couldn't stop twinkling, as if they were expecting something. And not long after, under the leadership of Lu Zimo, a group of them also came to a valley. This valley is not big. It looks extremely lush. Let's occupy this valley first. Nodding slightly, Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman also spread his wings fiercely and flew towards the sky above the valley. And the very next moment, boom, along with the terrifying roar, a shocking storm fell from the sky. Wherever the storm passed, countless trees were uprooted, and countless beasts, insects and spiders flew up. Ho, ho, ho. Hoo, ho, ho. Amid the roars, the entire valley fell into riots. However, if you look carefully, you can see that there are countless monsters swarming towards the exit. The aura of the high-ranking monster Qingfeng Eagle is still a bit scary. Even if they are minors, these weak monsters feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Of course, at this moment, the 3-color deer also moved. She seemed to have endless joy as she jumped up and down. However, at this time, if you look carefully, you will definitely be able to see purple radiance rippling around her. Little guys, sleep well. Like singing a lullaby, the 3-color deer Ningkai also stimulated her sleep magic. Immediately afterwards, Lu Zimo, Ali and others looked at each other in astonishment. Bang, bang, one after another, countless monsters fell to the ground. Among them, many wastes even started to snore. Kai's sleeping magic is really scary. With a sigh, Ali narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the 3-colored deer that kept dancing around him. Sleep magic is a type of spiritual magic, and mental magic is notoriously scary. No matter how powerful the monster is, if it lacks mental resistance, it will not be able to block mental attacks. Speaking of which, Lou Zemo also looked at his mental resistance. Fine. With the continuous development of his brain and effective training, his mental resistance has grown steadily. Now, among his many resistances, he ranks third. Ninkei's sleeping magic should be worthy of the name. However, at this time, looking at the monsters lying on the ground in patches not far away, Lou Zemo could not hide the horror in his eyes. Although, most of these monsters are low-class monsters. It looks like a fist-sized spider. There is also a half-meter-long venomous snake. But, it is a monster after all. Moreover, the quantity is terrifying. At a glance, there are hundreds of them. But now... Well, with a sigh, Lou Zemo also raised his sickle. Quietly, a black vortex gathered between his feet. It was a ball of dark energy. Lou Zemo is a very scary skill. And now, a light toss. There was no sound and no terrible momentum. What's more, the darkness continues to spread, swallowing up the entire exit of the canyon. Ding, you have killed a level 5 monster spider, evolution points plus. Ding, you have killed a level 7 monster green snake, evolution points plus. Ding, you have killed a level 5 monster scorpion, evolution points plus. The successive reminders meant that Lou Zemo had started harvesting again. Although these are low-level monsters, no matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat. As for Gong Xiaoman, Ning Kai and the others, do they need any evolution points? No need to think about it. Lou Zemo has already promised that he will hunt once or twice every day or two in the future. Experience and even evolution points will not be lacking from them. After all, we are a team, and Lou Zemo will not work alone. Just, at this moment, roar. Amidst the sudden roar and Lou Zemo's stunned gaze, a very huge white ape rushed out from the depths of the valley. Asterisk 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 asterisk. This white ape is a bit huge. Fully 5 or 6 meters high. It looks like a hill. The whole body exudes a very terrifying aura. Is this the white demon ape? A little stunned, Lou Zemo also didn't expect that such a monster would appear here. White demon ape, the middle monster. It is also a very ferocious monster, good at melee combat, and can also use weapons. Just like now, he actually uprooted a very huge tree. Roar. With another roar, this white demon ape actually wrapped his arms around the tree and smashed towards Lou Zemo and others. HMPH. There was a chuckle, but Lou Zemo didn't even blink. Just because, right now, if you look carefully, you will definitely be able to see that countless crystalline spider threads are constantly intertwined, blocking the entire entrance to the canyon. As for the white demon ape, with this fierce blow, before it could fall, it had already landed on the spider threads all over the sky, unable to move forward any further. Ho, ho, ho. The repeated roars seemed to be a bit stunned, but more of them were confused. With the white demon ape's current IQ, it is difficult to understand why the tree in his hand cannot move. However, he doesn't need to understand. Just because, at this moment, a very huge cyan giant eagle swooped down from the sky. Stab it. In the sudden penetration sound, it was Qingfeng Yinggong Xiaoman who penetrated the shoulders of the white demon ape with his sharp claws. Ho ho. The repeated roars were indescribably sad. But before the white ape could struggle any more, Gong Xiaoman spread his wings fiercely. Hey! Just hearing a scream, Gong Xiaoman flew into the sky with this huge white devil ape, rushing towards the sky hundreds of meters high, or even hundreds of meters high. The clouds shattered and air waves spread. Immediately afterwards, the sharp claws were released, and amid the shrill roar of the white demon ape, his entire body began to free fall from the sky hundreds of meters high. No doubt, no need to think too much. The fate of this white demon ape is definitely not as miserable as that. I can't even bear to look at it. Turning his head slightly, the three-color deer also stuck out his tongue, a little unbearable. It's really a bit pitiful. Looking at the white demon ape that was falling from the sky and still struggling wildly, Ari shook his head helplessly. But this is hunting. There is no pity to say. Some people just live and the weak die. So, boom, accompanied by a terrifying loud noise, the entire canyon was shaken. Visible to the naked eye, in the center of the canyon, waves of dust rolled up, and an unreachable hole emerged. And deep in the pit, the white demon ape, with most of its body turned into foam, looked even more miserable and miserable. Blood and potholes are stained red. White, red, everywhere. Half an eyeball rolled down. Forehead. During a period of silence, the three-colored deer, who secretly glanced at the pothole, retched violently. On the side, Ollie's face didn't look very good either. Although, they killed a lot. But this is the first time I have seen something so miserable. Not bad, you actually know how to use your own advantages to fight. With a touch of appreciation, Lu Zimo also looked at Gong Xiaoman in the sky. This girl is growing up very fast. In the past, she just controlled the storm. But now, she also understands her real advantage, and actually learned to use high altitude to fight. Tisk tisk. After smacking his mouth, Lu Zimo was also somewhat satisfied. Only then are you qualified to follow him. Just relying on racial superiority, sorry. That will only get further and further away from Lu Zimo. Just like now, although Gong Xiaoman and Ning Kai are both high-level monsters, compared with Lu Zimo, their strength is probably 1 level or even 2 levels behind. So, they have to work hard. Otherwise, this gap will only get wider and wider. At this time, listening to Lu Zimo's praise, Gong Xiaoman, who was spreading his wings high in the sky, couldn't help but neigh with pride. This was a trick she remembered from some anime in her previous life, using gravity to throw. Of course, this move is not perfect yet. The complete move should be her hugging the enemy and diving down from a high altitude. Then an extremely terrifying impact force breaks out, completely crushing the enemy. However, there were some mistakes during the operation. The white demon ape struggled so hard that it fell from her sharp claws. So, shaking his head helplessly, Gong Xiaoman also decided to try more in the future. Combat skills like these are pretty good. It can greatly improve her combat effectiveness. At this time, regardless of Gong Xiaoman's thoughts, Lu Zimo slowly walked into this valley with Ali and others. This valley is not big, but not small either. At a glance, it seems to be as deep as a meter. And now, brush, brush, brush. Along with the continuous sound of breaking the air, Lu Zimo also controlled the spider silk and began to weave continuously in this canyon. In a short time, we should be able to live in this canyon. You can build your own nest. If you need my help, let me know. Speaking softly, Lu Zi also took the lead in weaving a spider's nest for himself. There are 2 types of spider nests. One is like a bird's nest, where you can lie down and sleep. One is spider web. As a spider, he can naturally lie in the spider web and spend the whole night peacefully. And now, the spider silk, moved at will, a spider nest visible to the naked eye has emerged on the side of the rock wall. I am getting better and better at controlling spider silk. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zimo was also impressed by his proficiency in controlling spider silk. The spider silk now is like an extension of his arm. Very convenient. However, the only thing that needs to be noted is that if he controls too many spider threads at one time, it will be a big load on his spirit. Because spider silk is a god-level skill, its power is not due to skills, but to my mental strength. To put it simply, the person I am now limits the use of the god-level skill spider silk. If my mental power can be stronger, then my spider silk is likely to extend some inexplicable changes, and even awaken more terrifying power. In the soft murmur, Coconut also knew that he was still a little weak now. It is difficult to exert the true power of spider silk. It doesn't matter. Give him time, and the god-level spider silk will surely bloom its god-level power. But now, all he has to do is to become stronger and stronger again. Until, one day, there is a power zone that can truly exert the power of a god-level spider. With this in mind, Lu Zimo also had the urge to go hunting. Now, he is only one step away from reaching level 40. Presumably, in the next few days, I can rely on hunting to reach level 40. Therefore, his heart is ready to move. But before that, he still needs to understand the surrounding situation. Thinking of this, Lu Zimo also looked at Ali aside and said, "Go and sort out the recent chat information of the regional channel for me." "Okay, Mo." With a response, Ari also silently pulled his consciousness into the chat channel to check the message records during this period. And this is one of her tasks. As a team logistics person, in addition to handling prey, she will also do some work of sorting out intelligence. Time passed slowly, and Ali also followed Luzimo's instructions and sorted out the information. However, during the sorting process, the astonishment on Ali's face became more and more intense. There is a big difference between this monster forest and the dark forest. While sighing softly, Ari also noticed that there were many intelligent races in this forest of monsters. The goblin and troll clans encountered in the dark forest can be found everywhere in the monster forest. There are also a clan of lizard people, a clan of pig-headed people. These are all half-monsters. The so-called half-monster clan is similar to the orc clan. They are all half-human and half-animal. However, unlike the orcs who prefer humanoid life forms, the half-monsters prefer monsters. Its living habits and various habits are similar to those of monsters. Of course, they can also be regarded as orcs living in the forest. Not much differences. At least, except for serious humans, the rest of the human race regards the lizard people and pig-headed people as the orcs. In addition to these common lizard people and trolls, there are also some very rare intelligent races that often appear in this forest of monsters. For example, the Balrog clan whose whole body is burning with flames. Also there is a very rare clan of elves. While muttering softly, Ari continued to sort out the information. But it's not just that. Ari also sorted out some players in the nearby area that are worth paying attention to. Although I don't know the true strength of these players. But if you can be successful in the regional chat channel, you should still have 2 skills. And just after sorting it out, Ali also walked towards Luzi, who was not far away and was concentrating with his eyes closed. Listening to Ali's report quietly, Luzimo was also slightly startled. So, there are more intelligent races in this monster forest than usual. With a murmur, Luzimo was also a little surprised. There are no less than 5 intelligent races mentioned by Ali alone. Not to mention, this forest is haunted by very rare and noble elves. You know, that's an elf. Pointy long ears, beautiful face. The appearance alone is a suffocating race. As for that figure, it goes without saying. It can be said unceremoniously that every elf, especially female elf, was responsible for the harm to the country and the people in the previous life. Of course, this is just a legend. Specifically, Luzimo doesn't know either. However, his curiosity about elves has never diminished. Especially the little spider queen. She also said that the elves are the darlings of magic, and their individual strength is very powerful, second only to the dragon family. So, narrowing his eyes, Luzimo was also looking forward to meeting this race. At this time, Ali also paused and continued. In addition to the many intelligent races in this forest of monsters, there are also many players who have become famous recently. Like, the slime you mentioned before, and the unicorn. Narrating one after another, Ali also introduced more than a dozen very good players to Luzimo. These players don't just have lives. It's just because Ali went to Shuichun specifically and found out information about a lot of players through his admiration for fame. For example, the player who was reincarnated as a slime. She seems to be a female high school student with the character Jing in her last name. The strength is extremely terrifying. His natural talent seems to be called Predator, which can capture prey and even steal skills from it. What is worth mentioning is that her Predator does not randomly acquire the skills of other monsters like other players. Her natural talent as a Predator is targeted plunder. In other words, if she wants to plunder cheap things, she has the designated skill. In this way, it is conceivable that the number of skills she possesses is shocking. However, this certainly does not come without a cost. According to Luzimo's guess, every time she robs a skill as a Predator, she will consume a certain amount of evolution points. Moreover, simply looting skills makes little sense. Even if there are dozens of level 1 skills, they are not as useful as one level 2 skill. This slime Jing has many skill stars, but the level of the skills is definitely not the same. However, this is indeed a very powerful existence, worthy of vigilance. While muttering softly, Luzimo also remembered this slime player. Apart from this slime player, the other players are also pretty good. You girl, your ability to find out information is quite good. With a chuckle, Lu Zimo also fully affirmed Ali. Being able to find out so much information in just half a day shows how shrewd Ari is. These messages are available in regional chats. I just sorted them out. In response, Ali also raised the corners of her mouth slightly, revealing a smile. Mo, as long as you are satisfied. However, at this moment, as if he thought of something, Ari also reminded Mo, there seem to be many player organizations in the Forest of Monsters now, and they have each circled a piece of land as their own territory. I'm afraid that outsiders like us will break in rashly, yes. But before Ali could finish speaking, Lu Zimo interrupted. It doesn't matter. After smiling, Lu Zihei also continued. In this world, the strong are respected, and fists are the last word. If they are weak, no wonder we. As he finished speaking, Lu Zimo also had a sneer on his face. He is not a kind person. If those players dare to provoke him, then don't blame him for being rude. The first time I broke my leg. The second time I killed him directly. Forget it, let's kill it directly so that no one will worry about it. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo was already thinking about these ways to provoke his players. Of course, he doesn't really want this. But good people are deceived by others. Be a human being. No, it's better to be a little more ruthless when it comes to being a monster. But at this moment, Lu Zimo did not notice that a skill on his attribute panel was flashing with a different kind of scarlet brilliance. Power, Feast of Despair. This skill seemed to be alive, and it actually felt Lu Zimo's heart. He started cheering and jumping for joy. And this is power, a terrifying ability that overrides skills. Every power has the power to pass through the law, which is the purest and most terrifying. But now, Lu Zimo didn't notice this. If he noticed this, he would definitely be shocked. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, Lu Zimo and others had been in the monster forest for several days. And on this day, raising the sickle in his hand high, Lu Zimo also slashed at a very huge python. I don't know the name of this big python. However, it is all black with yellow lines. The body length reached an astonishing more than 10 meters. And now, click, when the sickle's feet fell, the black light flashed away, and a very huge snake head also flew out. Ding, you have killed the level 32 black python, and your evolution points plus 3000. Instead of looking at the prompt, Lu Zimo accelerated and pounced on the big black python. Kacha kacha. With one crisp sound after another, Lu Zimo began his meal again without ceremony. Ding, you are eating a level 32 black python, experience plus 3000. Ding, you are eating a level 32 black python, experience plus 3000. Ding, you are eating a level 32 black python, experience plus 3000. Amidst the continuous prompts, Lu Zimo's experience bar continues to rise. Until a certain moment, boom, Lu Zimo's whole body was shaken by the sudden roar. An unimaginable energy surged from the deepest part of his body. Along with this, his body grew at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. This is promotion. He was promoted from level 39 to level 40. However, unlike the previous promotions, this level 40 is a hurdle. Because monsters are divided into low-level monsters, mid-level monsters, and high-level monsters. This is the division of life levels. But in addition to this division, there is another division, and that is the division of age groups. Just like now, Lu Zimo, as a scythe of blades, has reached level 40, which also means that he has entered adulthood early. At this time, he can show his true strength. That is, a mid-level monster, a real experience. Of course, due to the evolution point and repeated strengthening of the relationship, Lu Zimo's strength has long been different from that of the ordinary scythe. So, you can't treat Lu Zimo as an ordinary adult scythe, otherwise you don't know how he died. GG. The screams became increasingly sharp, like countless blades slicing through the glass, sharp and harsh. The surrounding woods were shocked. Many trees were shattered in an instant. And when Lu Zimo suddenly advanced, in the forest not far from Lu Zimo. Roar. With a sudden low roar, a very huge rhino opened its eyes. The monster is promoted. Amid the soft murmur, this white rhinoceros, which was about 4 to 5 years old, also had a flash of heat in the depths of its eyes. The monster is promoted, but there is a period of weakness. And this is an opportunity. With this thought in mind, this huge white rhinoceros also roared fiercely. Roar. As if roaring from ancient times, many monsters responded to the surrounding woods. Yin. Groan. Ho. Ho. Birds neigh, giant beasts roar. And this, it turned out to be a small player organization nearby, which caused alarm. Whitehorn Organization. A small organization led by White Rhino and 7 or 8 player members. They regard the nearby area as their own territory, and they hunt in this area throughout the year. And now, sensing the monster's promotion, they were also excited. Brother, this should be the legendary opportunity, right? Hee. I really don't know who doesn't know the heights of the sky, but dares to advance in our territory. However, please pay attention, this scream is a bit scary, it must be a troublesome guy. During the continuous narration, several monsters have gathered here. The leader is naturally a very huge white rhinoceros. In addition to this rhinoceros, there are also white devil apes and big wolves. Various, but none of them are weak. The worst ones are all over level 20. The powerful white giant rhinoceros has reached level 32. And now, roar. As the white rhinoceros roared, they all rushed towards a forest not far away. But, not long after this, well, a sudden roar echoed across the sky. Along with it, a terrible storm poured from the sky. Boom. Just hearing a roar, many monster players couldn't help but pause. Under the terrible storm, they slowly retreated, and there were even more ravines on the ground. You guys, it's best not to move forward. Amidst the very cold voice, a very green giant eagle spread its wings in the sky. And this is naturally Chowman from Qingfeng Yinggang. The moment she noticed Lu Zimo's promotion, she immediately flew to the sky and guarded him silently. Not only her, but the 3-color deer also jumped near Lu Zimo, guarding her carefully. They would never allow anyone to interfere with Lu Zi's advancement. Are you a player? His eyes suddenly condensed, and the white giant rhinoceros looked at the very handsome cyan giant eagle in the sky with serious eyes. When did such a giant eagle come near here? Moreover, feeling its aura, this giant eagle seems to be very extraordinary. Even he had the illusion of bloodline suppression. It's a high-level monster. Muttering in his heart, the white giant rhinoceros was also a little envious and jealous. You know, reincarnation is a random shop. And some players, just reincarnated, are in Rome. Start with a high-level monster. As long as they don't die prematurely, they will become strong when they reach adulthood. However, as if he had thought of something, the white rhino's face darkened and he said in a deep voice. This is our Baijiao territory. With a cold snort, the white giant rhinoceros also took a step forward. Silence. The only thing that greeted the Baijiao organization was the silence as always. Li. During the long roar, Qingfeng Yinggang Chowman was hovering in midair. Gong Chowman has a cold temperament. Not good at words. How can you argue with them? Therefore, she just neighed again, and there was a strong warning in her roar. It seemed that as long as they dared to advance even half a minute, what was waiting for them was a storm that swept everything. Call. The wind howled, their hair curled, and the expressions of the white rhinoceros, the big wolf, and other monsters changed again and again. Brother. Amid the sudden call, the huge-looking wolf also looked at the white giant rhinoceros, with a hint of inquiry deep in his eyes. With a cold snort, the white giant rhinoceros also took a deep look at Qingfeng Yinggang Chowman, and immediately ordered. Let's go. The one who advanced must be a player. This time, for the sake of fellow players, let him go. Retreat, retreat. But face cannot be lost. Therefore, harsh words must be spoken. However, what they didn't know at this time was that in the depths of the forest not far away, 8 blood-red vertical pupils had quietly opened. This is Lu Zimo. He had just completed his promotion, and there was no period of weakness. The so-called weak period is for the weak. The body is transforming so fast that the energy cannot keep up. But Lu Zimo is different. His foundation is strong enough to support his transformation. Although Lu Zimo cannot exert 100% of his strength, 70% to 80% of his strength is enough for Lu Zimo to kill these guys. These guys are quite smart. With a secret praise in his heart, Lu Zimo also slowly withdrew his gaze. Immediately, he slowly turned around and walked towards the canyon not far away. Returning to the canyon, Lu Zimo also checked the attribute panel. Race. Small Spider, Blade Scythe Dragon Spider, a super rare monster with dragon bloodline. Level 40. Evolution points 900,000 evolution points. 4 dimensions. Strength 110, Agility 118, Constitution 114, Spirit 51. Each attribute for a normal person is 10. Talents: Killing Evolution, Adaptability. Elemental Talent. Darkness, you are burdened with darkness, and there is terrible dark magic flowing in your body. Wind, you can easily control the wind. Talent Skill: Puppet Line LV4. Combat Intuition 3. Skill: God Level Spinning God Level. Wind Control IV. Mutated Primary Magic IV2. Magic Control IV3. Kamazu IV3. Maula LV3. Death Charge IV3. Half Moon Slash IV3. Deterrence IV3. Toxic IV3. Thick Scales IV3. Sound Kill IV3. Dark Energy Ball 1v3. Racial Skills: Sickle Storm LV1. Centered on itself, it sets off a terrible storm, cutting all surrounding enemies and blocking most of the attacks. Passive Abilities: Super Regeneration LV3 greatly increases recovery speed. Fire Resistance, Cold Resistance, Mental Resistance. Power: Feast of Despair. Absorb negative emotions, then transform them into the purest energy, greatly improving mental power. Watching AIFD quietly, Luzimo also narrowed his eyes slightly. This is level 40. All attributes have been improved. However, this is not important. The important thing is that his body size has grown a lot, and now he has the power of a calf in the world. Moreover, he seems to have awakened a racial skill. Racial skills: this is a racial skill that most monsters will awaken. Like the blade scythes they encountered on a daily basis, the most feared thing was their scythe storm, which instantly turned into a small storm and swept over. If he is not careful, his flesh and blood can be scattered in a single breath, leaving no bones left. And this is also the most brutal skill of Blade Scythe. Extremely well known. And now, magic power surged, and Luzimo also tried to activate this skill. Boom! In the sudden roar, Luzi's whole body began to spin. Unpleasant at first, but later, his rotation speed became faster and faster. Like a top, storms are rising. This is not wind magic. Instead, it was caused by the extremely fast rotation alone. To put it simply, the scary thing is not the sudden storm. Kacha kacha. During the continuous crisp sound, the boulders and even trees around Luzimo were instantly involved in the storm and turned into powder and flew out. Moreover, what is even more frightening is that Luzimo's rotation speed is still accelerating, and the storm it stirs up is becoming more and more terrifying. But, not long after. Panting heavily, Luzimo also stopped spinning, with sweat dripping from his forehead. Tired. Really tired. This is an extremely physically demanding skill. Magic is secondary. However, his power is very impressive. Looking up, around Luzimo, there was no grass growing for dozens of meters, and everything was torn apart. If he activates the sickle storm and falls into the battlefield or among the beast tide, I am afraid it will cause bloodshed. This skill can be paired with wind and darkness. While muttering softly, Luzimo also realized the important point. That is, when launching the sickle storm, his magic power can also surge. And at that time, if he had pulled the power of storm or darkness, it would probably be even more terrifying. However, it should be a matter of the future. Now, the most important thing is to polish this skill. Strive to become proficient as soon as possible and take further steps. Scythe Storm. A sudden roar of shouting sounded from deep in the canyon. And at the next moment, what caught the eyes of Ali and others was a small tornado flying in the air. Yes, a small tornado. It's just that this is a dark black dragon scroll, as black as ink. Moreover, what is even more frightening is that even though they are hundreds of meters apart, Ari and the others feel pain in their skin as if it were being scraped with a knife. And this is Luzimo's racial skill, Sickle Storm. The 8 legs spin at high speed, tearing apart everything. However, unlike most scythes of blades that rotate on the ground, Luzimo actually spins in midair. Looking from a distance, it looks like a dark tornado flying in the air. This is the perfect combination of wind control ability and racial skill, Sickle Storm. It can make Luzimo, launch a sickle storm in midair. And this kind of sickle storm is several times more flexible than the ordinary sickle storm. Just like now. With a thought, Lu Zimo turned into a black tornado and flew towards the cliff in the distance. Boom! There was a loud noise, and half of the cliff was flattened by Lu Zimo. Even the rubbles all over the sky were turned into powder in that dark tornado. Do you feel that Zimo's skill is a bit familiar? In sudden surprise and suspicion, Ali, who was not far away, also widened his eyes. One was surprised by the power of this dark tornado. In fact, even tens of meters of cliffs were wiped out in an instant. One is surprised by this skill, it seems so similar. However, at this moment, as if he thought of something, the three-colored deer suddenly said, "Do you think it looks like the fighting tornado that fought Greymon in one of the anime we watched in our previous life?" I wipe it, it's really. With a sound of surprise, Ali nodded sharply. However, at the next moment, Ali also added, "There seems to be a dark Greymon in there. His current skills must be very similar to his combat tornado." There was a moment of silence, and Ali and the three-colored deer couldn't help but look at each other. Good guy. This guy Mo actually brought the skills from the anime into reality. Inspiration comes from life. Suddenly laughter came from the sky. Looking for fame, he turned out to be Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman, joking with a smile. Not only did Lu Zimo bring animation skills to reality, she also brought animation film and television skills to reality. Just like now, the gravity throw she practiced very hard is not the same as the earth throw in the anime. After smiling, Qingfengyan continued to observe Lu Zimo's practice. I have to say that Lu Zimo is really scary now. It was obviously just a mid-level monster, but its current strength was more than terrifying compared to hers. And now, call. Taking a deep breath, Lu Zimo also stopped spinning in midair. The dark storm gradually subsided, revealing a huge spider. The sickle legs and the 6 legs under the abdomen were flashing with faint light, but they were the traces left by Lu Zimo's previous surge of magic power. Don't you all practice? Suddenly asking, Lu Zimo also noticed everyone's abnormality. What are these guys doing with their eyes so wide open? It's not like you. Just practice, and create such a big momentum. With a cold snort, Qingfeng Yinggong Chaoman in the sky also pretended to be angry. But this guy is cold on the outside and hot on the inside. However, Lu Zimo explained in a different direction that his cultivation was so loud that it attracted their attention. That's it. With a chuckle, Lu Zimo also looked back at the cliff that had been flattened for 10.5 days. His momentum is indeed not small. Next time, let's go out and practice. If he keeps practicing in this canyon, he may not know when he will flatten the canyon. However, at this moment, as if he thought of something, Lu Zimo also looked at his wind control ability. It's so close to level 3. Among the soft murmurs, Lu Zimo was also satisfied. Not in vain, he made a promise of not landing for a month. The proficiency of this wind control skill is really rising. It's only been a while now, and it's already level 3. No wonder, Lu Zimo felt even more natural when he was just flying. And now, narrowing his eyes slightly, Lu Zimo also looked at Yufeng now. Wind control IV3. Walking on the wind, you can control the wind with less magic power. At the same time, the affinity with the wind is slightly increased. The flying speed of the wind is greatly increased. In a very simple introduction, it is fully stated how powerful the IV3 Yufeng is. Tisk tisk. After smacking his mouth, Lu Zimo was also satisfied. 0. The skill of controlling the wind is just for speed. Secondly, it is the reduction of consumption. But now, after this skill has been upgraded to level 3, both of these points are satisfied. As for improving the affinity of the wind attribute, this is also very important. Each monster and even other life forms have different affinities with different elements. The higher the affinity, the faster the element is absorbed. According to legend, some existences with terrifying elemental affinities will have countless elements rushing to enter their bodies even if they stand quietly. That kind of existence, nothing else to say. The speed of cultivation alone is probably several times faster than ordinary people, or even dozens of times faster. This shows how terrifying it is to increase elemental affinity. However, Even Lu Zimo did not expect that the improvement of wind control ability could actually increase wind attribute affinity. It seems that the potential of this ability is terrifying. If this skill can be upgraded to IV4, or even LV5. I guess when I'm in the sky, it will be no different from when I'm running on the ground. And the improvement of wind attribute affinity. While murmuring softly, Lu Zimo also looked at his body. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the wind element seemed to be more active and more active. Just like now, slowly raising his sickle foot, he could feel the wind rushing into his body. Boom! Amidst the sudden roar, it was Lu Zimo who shuttled through the woods at high speed. What's surprising is that he is actually flying in midair. Yes, flying. With the ability to control the wind, he can fly into the air at will. And now, dodging left and right, Luzi also avoided one tree after another. This is practicing his wind control ability. Just being fast is not enough. It also needs to be quick and responsive at the same time. Otherwise, it will be like this. With a bang sound, Luzi's entire body hit a very huge tree. This tree was broken in the middle, and Lu Zimo's body was tumbling in midair. This speed is too fast, I can't stop the car. With a forced smile, Lu Zimo was also a little helpless. He had just avoided the 0.40 inches tree, but another tree came out in front of him. Even he couldn't dodge and bumped into it. Fortunately, his body is strong. After 3 times of strengthening, it is now a perfect human shield. Therefore, there was no injury. It's just that I feel sorry for this big tree. With a sigh, Lu Zimo also shook off the dust from his body and continued flying towards the distance. However, at this moment, as if he noticed something, Lu Zimo also raised his eyes and looked not far away. In the woods not far away, Lu Zimo actually heard a roar. If your guess is correct, it should be a fight between monsters. With this in his mind, Lu Zimo quietly groped in that direction. He doesn't mind, the mantis stalks the cicada and the oriole is behind. And not long after, in a very wide forest, roar. Amid the terrifying low roar, a monster that looked very much like a black cat was covered in hair. This is a black cat the size of a calf, with a forked tail at the end. The ears are large and pointed, and the teeth are double-sided serrated. There was something indescribable about the district doctor as he bared his teeth and grinned. Not far away from him, there were dozens of green figures surrounding him. The multi-tailed cat and the goblin. While murmuring softly, Luzi's black eyes also condensed slightly. The multi-tailed cat, a very rare mid-range monster, a dark attribute monster with extremely fast speed. This one looks to be an adult. The breath is not weak. However, compared to him, the goblins surrounding him were also more numerous. These goblins are somewhat different from those Lu Zimo encountered before. Simply because each of these goblins are as tall and burly as giant bears. And this is the elite of the goblin clan. Now, if Lu Zimo's guess is correct, it should be a collective hunting activity of goblins, and they should be eyeing this multi-tailed cat. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zimo also leaned on a tree not far away and watched quietly. He had no intention of saving the cat. In the current situation, wouldn't it be best if they both lose? And at that time, it will be possible to harvest more transformation points. Meow meow. A sudden sharp scream echoed in the forest. This multi-tailed cat was also decisive. It actually found a direction and took the initiative to kill and try to break through. Boom, boom boom. Amidst the continuous roars, this multi-tailed cat turned into a black shadow and collided with several goblins. It's a pity that although the multi-tailed cats are ferocious, these goblins are obviously not vegetarians, and they have repeatedly forced the multi-tailed cats back. At this time, if you pay attention to the battlefield, you can also see that the multi-tailed cats and many goblins are slightly injured. Fight. It was tragic after all. Especially a life and death fight like this is not as brutal as usual. After smiling, Lu Zimo also saw a very tall goblin suddenly stabbed out with a spear. Stab it. There was just a crisp sound, and the multi-tailed cat's body was penetrated without enough time to react. Tisk tisk. After smacking his mouth, Lu Zimo knew that the battle was almost over. This blow was very fatal. Even though this multi-tailed cat is full of ferocity and its magic power is surging crazily, everything is of no avail. So, it's his turn. The sickle foot was slowly raised, and as the faint light flickered, a palpitating chill also surged. And the very next moment, Jurjurji, the sudden roar was like countless blades slicing through the glass, deafening. Goblins one after another couldn't help but be shocked. Some of them were stunned, as if they were stupid. But just because they were stunned doesn't mean Luzimo was stunned. An acceleration, a red light flashed, and Luzimo, whose agility reached more than 100, became even more incredible after activating the ability, Death Charge. Looking from a distance, there is an afterimage emerging. Yes, afterimage. This is very scary. However, what is even more terrifying is that Luzimo's figure has already passed through many goblins and arrived in front of the multi-tailed cat. At this time, stab it, sting it, sting it. There were crisp sounds one after another, and a line of blood appeared on the neck of the goblin behind Luzimo, and then slowly fell to the ground. Bang bang bang. Amidst the sound of falling to the ground one after another, the multi-tailed cat also widened his eyes, looking in disbelief at the strange spider that suddenly appeared in front of him. The scarlet vertical pupils are breathtaking. The dark sickle feet flicker in the dark. A ray of blood also slowly slid down the sickle's feet. And this is Luzimo at this time. The horror is unbelievable. Bye-bye. While his lips were moving, Luzimo also raised the sickle and pierced the multi-tailed cat's brow. Click. There was just a crisp sound, and Luzimo's sickle legs were half submerged into the multi-tailed cat's body. Then, there was a stir. Ding, you have killed the level 27 goblin, and your evolution points plus 5000. Ding, you have killed the level 25 goblin, and your evolution points are plus 4500. Ding, you have killed the level 34 multi-tailed cat, and your evolution points are plus 3400. The continuous reminders meant that Luzimo had completed a very good harvest in an instant. And this is what Dao Zie has been pursuing. Instant kill. The ultimate in killing everything in a matter of seconds. It's the perfect combination of speed and skill. In a forest, the wind gradually died down, and a very huge spider floated quietly in the sky. And around him, there were corpses one after another. The blood of these corpses has not yet cooled down. The rich smell of blood is already permeating the air, attracting monsters not far away. Ho, ho. Amidst the continuous low roars, the woods in the distance actually started to tremble. It seems that there is some kind of terrifying existence, as big as shit. And in the other direction, ouch, there was a wolf howl, and there was actually a giant gray wolf rushing towards him at great speed. This is a monster. Many monsters smelled the smell of blood and rushed over. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that they had noticed the fighting before and only rushed over now. Just, at this time, there was a loud bang, and the whole forest was shaken. Along with this, a very terrifying momentum spread violently. This momentum is extremely terrifying, as if it has become reality. It is actually a bloody ripple, rippling continuously. And at the moment when the momentum spread, countless monsters suddenly stopped. Then, as if they realized something, these monsters didn't even hesitate for a moment and ran directly towards the back. Run, must run. This power. TMD, is the power of dragon. Yes, Longwei. Luzimo's current IV3 level power is mixed with the dragon power of the dragon clan, which has already undergone a qualitative change. At this time, if you pay attention, you will definitely be able to see that the earth around Luzi is constantly split. And this is the substantive threat of Luzi Jinping. But, this is not enough. In Luzimo's expectation, his momentum should shatter the earth and shatter the sky. The momentum alone can be intimidating. And that is the momentum of the IV4 and IV5 levels in the future. With some expectation, Luzimo also raised the corners of his mouth slightly, setting off a subtle arc. However, at this time, as if he noticed something, Luzimo was also slightly startled. There are still monsters, do you dare to come? While whispering softly, Luzimo also guessed the identity of the visitor. To a large extent, it's the players. Simple monsters will rush to avoid him if they feel his terrifying power mixed with dragon power, which comes from the fear deep in their souls. Even monsters that are not weak in strength will become more fearful when they feel the power of Luzimo. But players are different, ignorant, therefore fearless. Most players are only shocked by the horror of the momentum, but they don't understand what such a terrifying momentum means. But, worthy, since they are here, let's entertain them well. Roar. Amidst the roaring sounds that seemed to come from ancient times, smoke and dust billowed, and a very huge white rhinoceros rushed out of the woods. And right behind the huge white rhinoceros, there are monsters one after another. This is, in the sudden exclamation, by Rhino also saw corpses on the ground not far away. Goblin. All goblins. There are more than a dozen goblins. And not far from the goblins, there is a very huge black cat. That's a multi-tailed cat, a very troublesome monster. I also encountered White Rhino several times. I didn't expect that this guy would die here. Boss, we are the Oriole hunting the cicada, with the mantis behind us. Suddenly laughing, the giant gray wolf not far from the white rhinoceros also grinned. So many corpses are enough to increase their strength. Just, at this moment. Quote, in the sudden reminder, the yellow pupils of the white giant rhinoceros also shrank slightly. Not far away, I saw a very huge black spider, quietly suspended in the air. The rippling breeze lifted half of his body. At first glance, it is very strange. It's the scythe of blades. In a very solemn voice, the gray giant wolf also noticed Lucy's existence. However, what surprised him was why was this bladed sickle floating in the air? Could it be that, while looking at each other, many players including the white giant rhinoceros and the gray giant wolf also looked at each other? No need to say anything. Just do it. This is just a sickle. No matter how weird it is it possible that it can still fight against so many of them? You know, they are players. But it is a monster with high intelligence. So, roar. Amidst the low roar of the beast, the white giant rhinoceros also took a step forward. Not only the white giant rhinoceros, but also the many monster players following him took a step forward. Different momentums gathered together and turned into substantial oppression, which was shocking. But, at this time, if you look carefully, you will definitely be able to see a hint of cruelty flashing deep in the eyes of these monsters. Didn't these guys realize that I'm a player? His heart was suddenly shocked, and Lou Zemo was also stunned. This is a bit interesting. No player found him. However, for a moment, as if he thought of something, Lucy also moved towards his neck. There is a necklace, lying quietly. Necklace is not a monster. This is something that only players can have. And it's impossible for them not to notice such a necklace. They selectively ignored. At this time, Lou Zemo lowered his gaze and looked at the many corpses of monsters lying on the ground. For players, monster corpses are very valuable. And here, there are not so many monster corpses. And, more importantly, the levels of these monsters are very harmful. So, it's not difficult to imagine that money and silk can move people's hearts. With a smile in his heart, Lou Zemo also vaguely realized something. It's really interesting. Sure enough, there is no eternal peace among the players. Profit is everything. As Lou Zemo spoke softly, his magic power surged. Boom! The terrifying momentum broke out again. A very huge spider phantom appeared above Lou Zemo's head and between heaven and earth. At this moment, many monster players felt as if the sky had turned dark. A substantial pressure suddenly pressed on their hearts, causing their expressions to change slightly. Some monster players even looked tentatively at White Rhinoceros, seeming to ask, are we really going to take action? Chapter 141. I'm only going to say it once. If you attack me, you will die. Suddenly, a very sharp and harsh mental frequency spread in the air, causing the expressions of many monster players to change. Sure enough, this guy is also a player. Although they were guessing in their minds, listening to this spiritual frequency at this moment, they truly confirmed the identity of the Lou Zemo player. And just then, it turned out to be one of our own. Amidst the sudden laughter, the white giant rhinoceros suddenly restrained its momentum. Later, he introduced himself. I am the leader of the Baijiao organization here. You can call me Baijiao. I don't know who you are. Despite the simple response, Lou Zemo's momentum did not dissipate. On the contrary, it is even more terrifying. Those scarlet eyes that are constantly flashing, seem to choose people to eat, which makes people shudder. And that unimaginable pressure is torturing the hearts of many monster players all the time. #T. Suddenly calling, the huge gray wolf not far away could not stop flashing its eyes. However, before the giant gray wolf could say more, the white rhinoceros shook his head imperceptibly, and soon, he also stepped forward and continued. Did Your Excellency kill these all? Not at all. In the soft response, Lu Zi also stated a fact. Indeed, not entirely. When he came, a goblin was already dead. So, not really. And these words fell on the minds of many monster players, but their eyes couldn't help but light up. Sure enough, this guy is also here to get a bargain. While thinking about this, the huge gray wolf suddenly jumped out and said in a deep voice. Sir, let's not talk about these monster corpses for now. You are hunting in our territory. Isn't it against the rules? You know, our Baijiao organization has been here for a year or two. Speaking one after another, the giant gray wolf also changed the subject and said with a smile. However, it's not easy to watch you. This time, we don't care, these prey. You can take away as much as you can. As the words fell, many monster players couldn't help laughing. This can be said to be enough face. But, the key is, how much of this prey can be taken away. You know, this part of the spider's body is quite impressive. They can only take away 4 or 5 goblins at most. So, looking at each other and smiling, these monster players are also some giant gray wolves. As expected of Baijiao's wolf head strategist, he has a lot of skills. However, at this moment, a sound that sounded like a smile, but not a smile, suddenly echoed in the forest. Are you serious? Lu Zimo also smiled during the soft inquiry. Are you afraid that this guy is bullying him for being uneducated? I still really thought that he couldn't take away all the prey here. With a smile in his heart, Sui Zimo also looked at the many monster players with a playful expression. Of course I'm serious. Nodding, the giant gray wolf also glanced at the white giant rhinoceros. After receiving a look, he also continued. How? Just do as you say. Having said that, Ji Zihei also confirmed again. I can take as much as I can take away. As he nodded slightly, many monster players also looked at him. It seemed that he wanted to see him take away a few prey. But, at the next moment, their eyes froze. Because, at this moment, Shuashua, countless crystalline spider silks shot out from this strange master and went in all directions. As the spider silk continued to linger, one prey after another fell into the spider web. But at this moment, the sickle lifted up its legs. Lu Zimo was also stunned by many monster players, wrapping up all the prey and flying towards the sky. A little, keep rising. It seems to be a bit heavy. This weird spider flew a little unsteadily. But, even so, this strange spider was walking away little by little with all its prey under the noses of many monster players. Senseless, completely confused, not only the other monster players, but also the giant gray wolf looked at the strange spider slowly lifting into the air with a big bag in bewilderment. However, the next moment, as if it had reacted, the face of this huge gray wolf suddenly changed and it roared. You! But before he could finish speaking more, the white rhinoceros not far away stopped him and said. So be it, boss. Why, this guy brought all the prey in our territory. Amid the rather excited voice, the giant gray wolf was also a little stunned. What's wrong with him, the boss? On weekdays, given his temperament, wouldn't he have already shouted, charge? But now, this guy is a bit weird. There was a sudden cry of concentration, and there was also a hint of complexity deep in the eyes of the huge white rhinoceros. He wanted to take action. After all, so many prey are enough for their entire team to reach a higher level. However, just when he was about to take action, an indescribable palpitation appeared in his heart. This is intuition. Intuition for crisis. This intuition has saved him many times. So, he chose to believe. And at this time, Lu Zimo, who had already flown dozens of meters into the air, also smiled. You are quite sensible. A faint voice echoed in the sky. Immediately afterwards, Lu Zimo raised his sickle. Kacha kacha. With the continuous roar, the entire forest centered on the white giant rhino and other monster players continued to fall. At this time, if you pay attention, you will definitely be able to see countless trees broken in the middle. And the reason why this is so is because Lu Zimo took back all the spider silk. Yes, spider silk. Visible to the naked eye, countless crystal clear spider threads are rushing towards the sky. In a trance, the white giant rhinoceros and the big gray wolf were in a huge white birdcage. And this is Luzidi's new ability, birdcage. Thousands of transparent spider silks are sprayed into the air, causing them to fall like a meteor shower. When they fall to the ground, the silk threads will extend from a point in midair to the point of falling on the ground, forming a structure made of countless silk threads. A huge arc-shaped birdcage from the sky to the ground. This is a terrible ability. It can also be regarded as a small ultimate move of Luzimo. It consumes a lot of spider silk. And these guys were actually in Luzi's birdcage before they arrived. As long as Luzimo thinks about it, the entire birdcage will continue to shrink, shrinking inward like a folded umbrella, gradually shredding all the creatures and even trees inside. Of course, Luzimo has not yet perfected this skill. Not enough to call it a skill. However, even so, it is not difficult to erase these monster players. That's why Luzi said that these guys are quite sensible. If they don't understand, in the next second, they will all turn into pieces and disappear between heaven and earth. What's this? Amidst the very horrified sounds, these monster players also stared blankly at the white threads rushing toward the sky. These threads are extremely transparent. At first glance, it was somewhat unclear. However, what is shocking is that as the spider threads surge upward, the surrounding trees seem to be torn apart. At this time, the giant gray wolf also subconsciously raised its paws to touch these spider threads. Stab. Amidst the sudden crisp sound, the gray giant wolf's expression suddenly changed. A trace of blood actually appeared on his claws. With his eyes widened, the giant gray wolf also looked at the departing figure in the sky in disbelief. What a joke. Is just recycled spider silk so sharp? This guy, monster, another monster-level player. Amidst the sudden condensation, the white giant rhinoceros was also a little frightened. Fortunately, he just didn't choose to take action. Otherwise, he might become a corpse at this time. Not only him, but many monster players who follow him will also turn into cold corpses along with him. And all this is because this weird spider is very likely to be a monster-level player. Yes, monster level. Far beyond the imagination of other monster players, it possesses extremely terrifying combat power. Every monster-level player is like a moving natural disaster walking in the world, which is very scary. Until now, there are only 4 monster-level players in their monster forest. And now, it seems that there is one more person. Taking a deep breath, the white giant rhinoceros felt a little complicated. In a previous life, someone was born in Rome. There are also people who work hard and are far better than others. But after being reincarnated into a different world, this situation has not changed. Even more obvious, players like this monster level are all amazing and talented. Extraordinary monster players can compare. To put it in cruel terms, that is what ordinary players look up to. Brother, are you sure this Iad is also a monster? During the sudden inquiry, the giant gray wolf was also a little uncertain. Well, with a sigh, the white giant rhinoceros also said bluntly. If this guy had murderous intentions just now, we would probably be wiped out. Forehead. During a period of silence, many monster players held their breath. Obviously, these words scared them. However, what these monster players didn't know at this time was that the white giant rhino thought of another monster he had seen. It was a slime, a monster that lived at the lower end of the food chain. But after that player was reincarnated, things were different. Unimaginably powerful and terrifying. Just looking at it will not give you the courage to resist. Desperate and suffocating. And now, this weird spider gave him a similar feeling. Even more intense. Just because at this time. Slowly raising his eyes, he saw the white giant rhinoceros. There were many bloodlines appearing around his body. It was spider thread, streaking across his body. When he didn't react, his defense was torn apart. If this guy wants to kill me, these spider threads will probably cut me into pieces. Taking a breath of cold air, the white giant rhinoceros also felt a chill on his back, and had an indescribable palpitation in his heart. And not long after that, the nearby regional channel. Bai Jiao. I just discovered another monster. It was a very ordinary sentence, but it made the entire regional chat channel go silent. Monster. This is a very sensitive word for this regional channel. Just because there are indeed monsters nearby. Moreover, it is not an ordinary monster. They are as powerful and terrifying as the player can imagine. Hey, don't be kidding. How can a monster come out so easily? Bai Jiao, you are also an honest person, so don't talk nonsense. That's right, don't treat all players as monster players. Among us, I only obey those four. Tisk, tisk, last time, you didn't see that the two monsters collided, like a natural disaster, raising everything for 1,000 meters to the ground. Narrated one after another, many monster players were a little excited. Obviously, monsters are still very popular in this area. Bai Jiao, alas, I can only say that this is a spider, and it can fly. It seems to be a new player who doesn't understand many rules. However, I advise you not to provoke this spider. A big shot. While speaking softly, Bai Jiao was unwilling to say more. He said this just to win the favor of many monster players and increase some impression points. In this way, his organization will be able to expand further. To put it simply, it is to gain a sense of presence. But now, watching Bai Jiao's narration quietly, many monster players laughed in amusement. Didn't take it seriously. If monsters appeared that easily, they wouldn't be monsters. This guy Bai Jiao probably hasn't seen the world and doesn't know the terror of those monster players. But at this moment, what these monster players didn't know was that just when Bai Jiao mentioned monster players, in a corner of the monster forest, a blue jelly-like existence suddenly started laughing. Another monster. In the soft murmur, this very strange monster also had some expectations. She hasn't met a strong opponent in a long time. If a monster suddenly appears, it will be a good thing for her. And, more importantly, there are several very powerful racial tribes in the monster forest. Those guys are the kings of the land and guard the treasure. If these places can be captured, their growth rate will probably be greatly accelerated. Therefore, she needs people very much. Really needed. If he is really a monster, then we will have another powerful fighting force. In the soft murmur, this mysterious monster was also thoughtful. What is worth mentioning is that this mysterious monster is actually a blue slime. Yes, make Rem, and she is the most famous player in this area. Quiet, people live up to their name. He is a very quiet person. Even though she was reincarnated as a slime, she never changed her quiet nature. However, she also has ambitions. That is to become stronger and stronger again. Therefore, she often challenges some dangerous monsters and even breaks into some dangerous places. As for this monster forest, there are several places on the periphery that are difficult to enter. One is the cave where the lizardman tribe is located. There is also a pig-head forest where the pig-headed man is. These places are crowded with people. It would be difficult for her to capture it alone. So, she thought of finding some temporary teammates. Just like playing a game, form a team and go grind. However, considering that the lizards and pig-headed men were not weak, Slime Jing also put the choice of teammates above monster-level players. As for why she didn't find a large number of players and rely on numbers to attack. Sorry, I don't say whether she can summon so many players. The benefits alone are not enough. No matter how big the cake is, if more people share it, that person's gain will be smaller. And, more importantly, Slime Jing also deeply understands. If you are not strong enough, going to that kind of place is completely equivalent to courting death. Ordinary monster players, when they go to those places, just say, send. One more word, death. Therefore, after repeated consideration, she decided to choose very powerful players to form a team. I hope you won't disappoint me. Amidst the soft murmurs, Slime Jing also jumped up and rushed towards the distance. Over there is Bai Jiao's territory. Now, she planned to ask Bai for specific information about this monster. Is it a real monster? This is highly debatable. And what is worth mentioning here is, a real monster is not just a high level. Moreover, it requires talent, ability, and being no weaker than others in all aspects. Its combat power is even more outstanding. And that, barely squeezed into the ranks of monsters. Yes, barely, just because, in Jing's opinion, monsters are also divided into 3, 6 or 9 levels. For example, the unicorn player she knew was very powerful. It is called a monster by many players. But to be honest, Slime Jing really looks down on her. Just being able to catch a dozen of her moves is not enough. At this time, Luzimo didn't know that this place was so fancy that it even came up with the term, monster player. But with his temperament, he wouldn't care if he knew it. He never needed other people's judgment. And now, with a lot of huge prey, Luzimo slowly returned from high altitude while Ali and others were stunned. Mo, have you hunted so many prey? Amid some astonished voices, Ali was confused. Most of them are goblins. Not good to eat. If you don't like it, you can bury their bodies underground to nourish the soil. Saying this, Luzimo also dropped the huge prey in the center of the canyon. And he himself flew towards the spider web on the rock wall not far away. After a fierce battle just now, even he was a little tired. Of course, it wasn't because he was fighting goblins, but because of the skill, birdcage. This skill consumes too much spider silk. Thousands of spider silks, like shooting stars, scattered in all directions, covering an area of 200 square meters. So much spider silk was sprayed out that even Luzimo couldn't bear it. However, there is still nothing to say about the power. Especially in the future, with my skillful control. The power of this ability will further increase. While muttering softly, Luzimo also thought of a very terrifying scene. That is, he used a birdcage to engulf a human city. In an instant, countless lives were wiped out. The entire city was cut into pieces by his spider threads, leaving no intact place. If that happens one day, his evil reputation will probably shock the whole world. With a smile in his heart, Luzimo also looked forward to it. Of course, what he is looking forward to is not cutting up human cities. Instead, his birdcage skills have been further improved and become more terrifying in power. With this thought in mind, Luzi also raised his sickle foot. Shwashwashua, along with countless spider threads, spraying towards the sky, a white birdcage that had shrunk by an unknown amount also appeared between Luzimo's feet. This is also one of the required courses for him to practice during this period. That is to constantly weave birdcages and perfect this skill. Like now, this fist-sized white birdcage is a smaller version of the real birdcage. There is no essential difference between the two. Moreover, weaving birdcages like this can also exercise his control over spider silk. I feel that the spider silk that weaves the birdcage can be used to a certain extent to use puppet threads. When people are trapped in the birdcage, they can then be manipulated by puppet threads to make them kill each other. Moreover, the birdcage continues to shrink. These beings trapped in the birdcage will also watch themselves die. My heart will become more and more desperate, frightened and horrified. All kinds of negative emotions will definitely make my spirit grow further. As he murmured softly, the corners of Luzimo's mouth were filled with cruelty. He doesn't like cruelty, but the existence of the Feast of Despair of Power forced him to be cruel sometimes. Only in this way can more negative emotions be absorbed. With a sigh in his heart, Luzimo also let go of the last bit of kindness in his heart. Kindness is not a good thing in this world. Moreover, his principle is that if others do not offend me, I will not offend others. If no one provokes him, he will not take the initiative to kill. However, during this period, Luzimo planned to use the birdcage to hunt some humanoid creatures. For example, lizard people and pig-headed people. These guys are also intelligent beings. Has a high degree of wisdom. I will also be shocked and frightened. Presumably, their experience brought a lot of negative emotions to Luzaihe. Luzimo smiled and did not hide the expectant look on his face. What is despair? Luzi didn't know about the others. But for Luzimo, it was the most delicious feast. Just like now, birdcage. Whispering softly, Luzimo also sacrificed the birdcage in the dark night. Swish, swish, countless crystalline spider silk spray toward a certain point in the night sky. Immediately afterwards, these spider silks were scattered in all directions like a meteor shower. Boom boom boom. Amidst the continuous roar, the ground was shaking. It was countless spider threads falling to the earth, causing a roar. These spider silks don't just fall on the ground. They are constantly connected in the earth and meet at one point again. This turned this area into a completely sealed space. There is no way to heaven. Entering the ground, there is no door. An absolute blockade. And now, Looking at this white birdcage covering a radius of 300 to 400 meters, the corners of Luzimo's mouth were slightly raised, showing anticipation. During this period of time, he did not practice in vain. The scope of the birdcage grew further. The cutting ability is also greatly enhanced. It's just that now is not the time to focus on these. Just because the eyes of Luzimo, Ali, and even Chaoyan from Qingfeng Yingdong all fell on the minister in the white birdcage. #BB. Hu, ho, ho. Hu, ho, ho. Amidst the continuous low roars, countless green-skinned, very ugly figures walked out of the tent. These are goblins. Goblins in the monster forest. 2 days ago, when Gong Chaoman was hunting nearby, he accidentally discovered such a goblin village. Therefore, Luzimo started his first, desperate hunting, today. Mo, is your birdcage really as strong as you say? Amid the soft questioning, Ali was also curious. HMPH. With a chuckle, Luzimo didn't say anything, everything was left unsaid. And at this moment, increasing noise also arose in the goblin village. What happened? Goblin, what's wrong? Amidst repeated exclamations, dozens of goblins also walked out of the village. However, the next moment, what caught their eyes made them all dumbfounded. I saw that in the distant night sky, there were countless very thick wire pillars, standing quietly. These thread pillars are made of countless spider silks. They are the skeleton of the birdcage and support the entire birdcage. Between the thread pillars, there are countless spider silks that are difficult to find with the naked eye, preventing small monsters from passing through. And now, the sickle moves lightly. Boom. Just hearing an extremely terrifying roar, the whole earth began to tremble. Then, in the astonished but confused eyes of these goblins, these thick white thread pillars were slowly advancing towards them from the end of the earth. Kacha kacha. One crisp sound after another, the earth was torn apart, and countless waves rolled up. And the trees one after another, even visible to the naked eye, were shattered into pieces. What's this? What the hell? After exclaiming repeatedly, these goblins were also stunned. But for some reason, an indescribable crisis emerged in their minds. But at this time, looking around, they discovered that not only in this direction, but also in other directions, there were white and very thick spider threads slowly advancing. And, what's even more terrifying is, even the sky is covered with white spider silk. In a trance, everything is blocked. And at this moment, roar, a very terrifying roar came from a distance. Looking for a sound, a wild boar of more than 20 levels suddenly slammed into the white thread pillar. It seems to want to break out of this white cage. Then, a scene emerged that made all the goblins tremble. Quote. There was a loud noise, and blood mist burst out all over the sky. This huge wild boar turned into blood mist under the horrified gazes of countless goblins. Yes, blood mist. Not even the skeleton was left behind. Under this wild boar's desperate charge, the terrifying impact force was all written on the birdcage. But the birdcage didn't move at all. Instead, there were countless crystal-clear spider threads that were hard to find with the naked eye, like the sharpest blades, tearing its body apart completely. Yes, tear. Of course, this was also a wild boar. It was so ferocious that it charged directly towards it. You know, Luzimo's spider silk is as sharp as the sharpest piano wire, as sharp as a sharp blade. It rushes over like this, which is tantamount to hitting the edge of a knife. Therefore, this scene with great visual impact also impressed everyone's eyes. Blood bloomed in the sky like plum blossoms, and the rich smell of blood filled the air. In a daze, countless goblins heard extremely shrill roars. Senseless, completely confused, some goblins looked a little pale as they looked at the slowly advancing spider web, as if they were afraid of something. An unexpected surprise. Among the soft murmurs, Luzimo was also a little surprised. I didn't expect that a wild boar would actually demonstrate it in person. It exploded into a blood mist. Thus, with a smile in his heart, Luzimo also quietly looked at the slowly advancing white spider silk. These spider threads are like blades, advancing towards the goblin bit by bit. It was cold and terrifying, making countless goblins tremble. Even, in order to create an atmosphere, Luzimo deliberately slowed down the shrinking speed of the birdcage. Slower. But it is even more terrifying. Everything along the way rip. Yin. With another mournful cry, a flying monster bird exploded at high altitude and turned into blood mist. And on the other side, boom, as the ground waves surged, monsters like earthworms lurking in the depths of the earth seemed to sense something and surged out of the earth one after another. But what awaits them is the white spider web that is still advancing on the ground. Kacha kacha, one crisp sound after another, this tearing sound filled the ears like a demonic sound, impacting all the goblins. Until, a goblin who couldn't bear the fear anymore rushed out. After turning into green blood mist in the horrified gazes of the other goblins, an indescribable fear and coldness instantly swallowed up the hearts of all the goblins. Ding, you are ingesting negative emotions, fear. Ding, you are ingesting negative emotions, despair. Amidst the prompts one after another, Lu Zimo also saw a very illusory gray mist rising from the heads of these goblins. Then, it rushed towards his body. These gray mist are very strange. Looking carefully, there are actually ugly and ferocious goblins one after another. They seemed to be afraid, as if they were afraid. Looking panicked. And now, taking a deep breath, these gray energies also poured into Lu Zimo's nasal cavity. Cool, it's like cold air entering the body. There is something indescribably strange. But just as they poured into Lu Zimo's body, ding, your power and despair feast has been launched. Lu Zimo was shocked when prompted again. Just because, at this moment, the few wisps of mist that poured into Lu Zimo's body melted like ice and snow, turning into the purest spiritual energy. Yes, spiritual energy. Then, visible to the naked eye, Lu Zimo's spirit began to flourish again. Ding, your feast of power and despair has been activated, and your mental power has increased by plus 0.1. Ding, your feast of power and despair has been activated, and your mental power has increased by plus 0.2. Ding, your feast of power and despair has been activated, and your mental power has increased by plus 0.2. As the prompts came one after another, Lu Zi felt that his mind was getting clearer and clearer. An indescribable feeling lingered in my heart. In a daze, his whole person seemed to be sublimated. Not only that, his perception is also increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. A feeling of being in control of everything arose spontaneously. Of course, this must be an illusion. It's just an illusion brought about by the increase in mental power. However, from here, it can also be seen that Lu Zimo's mental improvement is still good. It actually gave him such a feeling. The conversion rate of these negative emotions is not very high. It seems that they are not pure enough. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo also glanced at the goblin under the birdcage. The emotions of intelligent life are different. For some people, fear is very pure, and the transformation effect is very good. It can increase Lu Zimo's mental power in one go. Some people, while fearful, also have the courage to resist. Therefore, it cannot be completely regarded as negative emotions. And Lu Zi couldn't like such a person. After all, his value to Lu Zimo has somewhat decreased. So, his eyes narrowed slightly, and Lu Zimo also looked at the figure blocking the front of the many goblins. He should be the king of this goblin village. Strong and tough. He tightened the battle axe in his hand, his face full of determination. This guy is the pillar of support for many goblins. Because of his existence, although many goblins are afraid and frightened, they can still resist. As a result, Lu Zimo's harvest was not as good as expected. HMPH. With a sneer, countless puppet threads fell off the birdcage and silently rushed towards the Goblin King. Swish. Hearing one sound after another, the Goblin King lost control of his body before he could react. Roar. Amid the sudden roar, the Goblin King was also stunned. What happened? But before he could roar any more, he slowly raised the axe in his hand. Then, with countless goblins stunned, he chopped off the head of the goblin next to him. Click. With a crisp sound, the head flew out and blood spurted out. The blood that kept falling was like raindrops pouring on the heads of many goblins, which truly destroyed the last line of defense for all goblins. Wong, what's wrong with you? No, do not want. King. Roars and screams echoed in the night sky in an instant. The entire goblin tribe was in chaos. At this moment, Lu Zimo also saw more gray mist coming towards him. Ha ha ha. Amidst the proud laughter, Lu Zimo was also satisfied. Sure enough, it is still necessary to destroy these guys' mental defenses before they can harvest better. In the final analysis, this feast of power and despair depends more on the insight into people's hearts and their ability to play with. While murmuring softly, Lou Zemo also licked the corners of his mouth, as if tasting the fragrance of despair. Amid the sudden murmurs, Ollie and others also looked at this scene in astonishment. At this moment, they actually felt that Mo was a little strange. In the past, wasn't he just hunting? But now, why? It's more like he is trampling on the souls of the living and tasting their last cries before death. Don't know, puzzled, but they didn't say anything. Just because it's thick and black. Since you follow him, there is no need to question. And now, boom, boom, boom. The roar intensified, and the entire birdcage continued to shrink. Until sometime in the middle of the night. Boom. With a sudden roar, the entire birdcage shrank to 10 square meters. And at this time, if you look towards the woods, you can suddenly see dozens of goblins gathered together, crowded together, and constantly shrinking. They looked at the spider threads around them, full of fear and horror. There is a touch of despair. It's been over an hour. The surrounding ground and even trees were reduced to pieces. There were even more than a dozen goblins, which turned into blood foam. The rest of them can only hide in this birdcage. Until now, they have gathered in a group, crowded together. But even so, they still don't have the slightest sense of security. Because the thread did not stop moving, but was still advancing towards them. The negative emotions these guys can provide are limited. Feeling that his spiritual power was no longer growing, Coconut also lost the last of his interest. Well, with a sigh, the sickle feet moved lightly. Boom. Just hearing a loud noise, the white birdcage suddenly shrank, setting off a shocking roar, and countless blood mist spurted out, turning the spider webs into blood red. And at this time, if you look at the land with a radius of several hundred meters, you can even see the dripping blood dyeing the earth red. And the earth seemed to have been torn apart countless times. Terrifying, horrifying, and daunting. And this is much scarier than a giant pit hundreds of meters in size. My mental power has increased by 5 points. While muttering softly, Lou Zemo also saw that his mental power had now reached 54 points. This is much worse than the 3-digit physique, agility, and strength. But this is the spirit. Spiritual attributes are different from other attributes. This attribute is the most difficult to grow. Moreover, according to Bing Yu, their magicians also have their own secret cultivation methods to enhance their spiritual power. This is also the reason why magicians are very rare. Without specialized secret cultivation methods, it is extremely difficult to increase spiritual power. And this kind of secret cultivation method is equivalent to the private goods of each magician, and is rarely spread to the outside world. Just like the icy secret method, practiced by Bing Yu, it is an ice attribute, a secret method for increasing mental power, which can slightly increase the speed of her mental power growth. At the same time, it can make her brain calmer. According to legend, if they practice this secret skill to a great extent, they will abandon all emotions and become like an iceberg. At that time, the growth rate of their mental power will also increase explosively. However, I don't know if it is because of the influence of Lou Zemo's puppet string, but Bing Yu's speed in practicing this secret technique seems to have increased a lot. There is actually a tendency to practice to a small degree. And this, let alone, mental power increased by 4 points, not only making Lou Zemo's brain clearer, but it also made him even more comfortable in controlling spider silk. It even makes his control of magic power more delicate. This is the growth of spiritual power. Although there is no strength, physique, agility, these improved intuitions, but invisibly, it is more terrifying. Every improvement is linked to Lou Zemo's many abilities. According to Lou Zemo's guess, if his mental power reached 3 digits, he would probably be able to compete with high-level monsters just by controlling spider silk. Moreover, it is still a high-level monster in adulthood. With a smile in his heart, Lou Zemo is also looking forward to the day when he stands quietly in the sea of white spiders. At this time, what Lou Zemo didn't know was that on the top of the mountain in the distance, several monsters looked at the place where Lou Zemo was, all with horrified eyes. These monsters are no strangers. It is the giant white rhinoceros and the giant gray wolf of the Whitehorn organization. And now, Looking at each other, these guys can't hide the shock and paleness on their faces. This guy is really a monster. Because they were not far apart, they rushed over as soon as they heard the terrible shaking sound. Then, they saw a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. The spider silk, which is like a white birdcage, seals off hundreds of meters in radius. And that white birdcage continued to shrink, tearing everything apart. Even trees and boulders cannot escape the fate of being torn apart. Until finally, the blood mist exploded and all the goblins were wiped out. Hiss. Taking a breath of cold air, the giant gray wolf also remembered that not long ago, a group of them seemed to be in the same white spider web that looked like a birdcage. At that time, if we had taken action. As he finished speaking, the corners of the white superstar's eyes couldn't stop twitching. There was even a hint of indescribable joy. You know, although his strength is good. But it's almost the same as that Goblin King. However, now that the Goblin King has no resistance at all, then he must be no different. So, terrified and horrified, but what's more is unspeakable fear. At this moment, the white giant rhinoceros has regarded the strange spider floating far in the sky as an object that must not be provoked. And at this moment, is this the monster you're talking about? Suddenly, a very cold voice sounded in his ears. Looking for the sound, a blue jelly jumped up from the tree. Are you, Boss Jing? With his eyes widened, the white giant rhinoceros did not expect that this legendary slime would suddenly arrive. Slime? Question. A very special existence. No one knows how strong she is. But all players understand that the terror of this guy is absolutely beyond imagination. Some people even say that she is already the #1 person in this area. Even if you look at the whole world, she is one of the most terrifying existences. This is Stillness, the legendary slime. There was no response, only this slime slowly raised its eyes and stared at the weird black spider in the air. Like a body the size of a calf. Black and strong 8 legs. There are also eyes that are shining with scarlet light, but they are like dragon eyes. Surprisingly good. No, it's more than good. Rarely, Jingdu felt his blood boiling, as if he was excited. This is the long-lost passion. Although he has no blood, his soul has begun to be excited. This is a very powerful player. Moreover, it is not generally powerful. Boom. During the sudden roar, Jing's body burst into bright blue light, and her entire figure began to change. It was a human-shaped body. It doesn't look high. It's like it hasn't aged well. The whole body is surrounded by blue light, making it difficult to see clearly. However, even as she continued to change, her presence also attracted Lu Zimo's attention. Turn around slowly and raise your eyes. What stood before Lu Zihei's eyes was a girl with long silver blue hair on the top of a distant mountain or cliff. Nord Zhao, yes, girl. A real girl. The golden pupils seemed to have an iron mask on his face, covering his appearance. However, her whole body was glowing with blue light. The figure is a bit blurry, making it difficult to see clearly. This is. His eyes narrowed slightly, and Lu Zi also noticed the golden pupils of this girl. Those golden pupils contained no emotion, and were so cold that they seemed to freeze the air. Just like his dragon eyes, they both belonged to the eyes of the strong. Boom. The eyes looked at each other, as if there was lightning emerging. In an instant, 2 very terrifying momentums also started to rise. Boom. Amidst the increasingly terrifying roar, terrifying wind and waves are rolling up. And this is the collision of the top mid-level monsters. It is also a collision of monsters in a real sense. The top-level mid-level monster is a terrifying existence second only to the adult high-level monster. In terms of level alone, it is at least close to level 60 monster. But Lu Zimo, including this human figure, cannot be judged by common sense. Although, their levels are still only in their 30s or 40s. But in terms of momentum, it is no less than an ordinary top-level mid-level monster. And this is the player's advantage. With evolutionary points and continuous enhancement of various abilities and even physical qualities, their combat power far exceeds that of ordinary monsters. This is even more true for player leaders like Lu Zimo and this humanoid figure. Not to mention anything else. Lu Zimo alone's body has been strengthened 3 times. In terms of physical strength, they are comparable to level 30 monsters. In this way, you can also imagine Lu Zimo's terror. And now, when their eyes met, Lu Zimo's eyes narrowed slightly. This guy. While murmuring softly, Lu Zimo was also thoughtful. Humanoid. Still a player. Who is this guy? Suspicious in his heart, Lu Zimo also stared blankly. Boom. With a loud noise, countless information also poured into Lu Zimo's mind. Race. Slime. Level. Level 37. Natal talent. Predator. Ability. Question mark closing square bracket. A series of question marks also made Lu Zimo raise a rare brow. In the past, although there were monsters that he could not detect with his detection skills, they would never be like this, where they were all question marks. Unless she has the ability to block detection. There was a murmur in his heart, and Lu Zimo also had some suspicions. However, at this time, Lu Zimo also realized the identity of this player. It should be the slime quiet that is so popular in this area. Yin Yin, known as the first person in this area. Now it seems that it is indeed well deserved. As for this guy, he is only level 37, which is 3 levels lower than Lu Zimo. This is not surprising. After all, Lu Zimo is a spider-type monster. Can use spider silk to weave spider webs to hunt for him. In terms of hunting efficiency alone, Lu Zi estimated it to be several times that of other commodities in the early stage. However, this kind of hunting efficiency does not expand as much in the middle and late stages. At this time, the level of monster players has increased, and they have many more methods. For example, some large-scale range-type skills are also available. So when it comes to hunting efficiency, Lu Zi is not as exaggerated as he was in the lead in the early stages. Are you the new monster player that has been rumored recently? Suddenly, a voice with a hint of smile echoed in the sky. The voice is very nice, like the voice of a female high school student. It is crisp and melodious, but it has a certain indifference that excludes others. Monster player. What is that? A little stunned, Lu Zimo also looked at Ali not far away. Monster player, is a joking name for the strongest players in this area. It can also be said to be an honorific title. Currently, there are 4 recognized monster players in this area. And you are the 5th person who has been rumored recently. Listening to Ali's explanation quietly, Lu Zimo was also slightly startled. Monster player, honorific, not really fun. However, he did not expect that he would be 5th. With a smile in his heart, Lu Zimo also raised his eyes and looked at several figures not far away. If he guessed correctly, his name probably came from that giant white rhinoceros. At this time, Bai Jumi also shrank his head as if he noticed Lu Zimo's gaze. He just saw Lu Zimo's horrific slaughter. Therefore, his awe for Lu Zimo is constantly rising. At this moment, in his mind, Lu Zimo has been labeled as devil, butcher, etc. In the past, he thought he was cruel enough. But now, when he saw Lu Zimo, he understood what it meant. There is heaven outside the sky, and there are people outside the world. This guy is 100 times more ruthless than me. Feeling horrified, the white giant rhinoceros decisively took a few steps back to show awe. Not paying attention to the reaction of the white giant rhinoceros, Lu Zimo also turned his eyes and looked at the humanoid figure not far away. First time we meet, my name is Lu Zi. Nodding slightly, this humanoid figure also introduced himself. You can call me Jing. As he said this figure also jumped up. Boom. With just a roar, she jumped tens of meters high, crossed half of the forest, and rushed towards the direction of Lu Zimo. Would you be interested in a fight? In the laughter that was like a silver bell, a very terrifying magic power also surged. Can't get it. With a chuckle, Coconut didn't mind either. He does not object to fighting with strong men. Especially a strong one like Slime. Occasional discussions and collisions can greatly improve his combat experience. Of course, this definitely does not include guys like Forest Tiger. Although the Forest Tiger has a good character. But there is a clear strength gap between Nahi and Lu Zi. Lu Zimo would be afraid of lowering his fighting level if he frequently competed with him. And now, his eyes were slightly condensed, and the scarlet vertical pupils were shining with a terrifying luster. Lu Zimo also rarely became excited. This will be a rare opponent. With a murmur, Lu Zimo, who was still high in the sky, was the first to launch an attack on the humanoid figure attacking him. Shua, Shua, Just one sound after another was heard breaking through the air, and countless crystal-clear spider threads were constantly entangled, and turned into thick white thread pillars, like shooting stars, shooting towards the figure in the distance. This is the whip of strangulation. Lu Zimo's attack range is the furthest skill. As it stands, it can span thousands of meters or more. Is it so far? In some astonishment, Slime Jing also saw the thick line pillars shooting from Tianyu. This skill doesn't seem to be very far away. Faintly, it was all beyond Slime Jing's cognition. But, this is interesting. The corners of the mouth under the mask curled up slightly, creating a subtle arc, and Slime Jing's body, which was still in midair, also shook violently. In the sudden roar, blue magic suddenly erupted. And her body changed in an instant. Yes, changes. Yin, just hearing a high-pitched neighing, a big blue bird with an unknown name flew out of the gushing blue magic. And this is the transformation of slime. Able to transform into the monsters he had swallowed. And this big blue bird is her usual flying form. During a period of silence, Ali, Qingfeng Ying and others looked at the big blue bird not far away that spread its wings to avoid the thick wire pillars, and were stunned again and again. Not only them, but also Lu Zimo was a little stunned. After being stunned for a long time, Lu Zimo noticed that the big blue bird had also dodged his strangulation whip one after another and attacked him. Quick, soon, the speed of this big blue bird is beyond imagination. And in the next moment, she had already rushed in front of Lu Zimo. Stab! Blue claws poked out, as if to tear everything apart, and Yuan grabbed Lu Zili fiercely. The spider's nest. Whispering softly, countless spider threads were weaved in front of Lu Zimo, turning into a very large spider web. Boom! Just hearing a loud noise shook the spider web nest. However, at this moment, what surprised Slime Jing was that the spider legs of this spider were constantly changing and turned into the sharpest blade. Is it also a transformation skill? With a secret thought in her heart, Slime Jing also noticed the sickle-like blade with a faint glow. The silk threads are breathtaking. Without any warning, a palpitation appeared in her heart. Retreat subconsciously, and the very next moment, with a swish sound, a very sharp slash landed where she was before. So fast, with his eyes widened, Slime Jing discovered that a more ferocious attack was coming. Swish, swish, under the astonished gazes of countless people, the continuous slashes were like a tide, swallowing up the slime in an instant. Why is this guy attacking so fiercely? Here, are you sure you're not a swordsman? Hey, Jingdu has been suppressed. One after another, many useless players watching the battle in the distance couldn't help themselves. You know, it's quiet. A recognized monster. In previous battles, she had always suppressed others one-sidedly. But now, she is. At this time, not to mention the horror of many monster players, Slime Jing's expression also changed slightly. Quick, unimaginably fast. Countless slashes came from all directions. If she hadn't used the magic shield in time to protect her, her end would have been a little miserable. However, just at this moment, so strong, his strength and agility are not weaker than mine, and he is even several points stronger than me. While sighing softly, Slime's static magic power also surged. Boom! There was only an extremely terrifying roar, and with Slime Jing as the center, a huge blue magic storm broke out. In an instant, Lu Zimo, who was as powerful as Lu Zimo, was constantly retreating under this terrible magic storm. This guy's magic power is so strong. Looking at the solid blue magic power not far away, Lu Zimo was also a little stunned. He is a sickle with a blade, and his magic power is very rare. Even though he has the skill of magic control to superimpose magic power. Then, he has dragon blood, which increases some of his magic power, and his magic power is not too much. At most, it only reaches the level of an average mid-level monster. But this Slime Jing is different. Her magic power seems to be endless. According to Lu Zimo's guess, her magic power is at least twice that of Lu Zi's. Even more. At this time, what Lu Zimo didn't know was that what Slime Jing was most proud of was her magic power. Compared with ordinary monsters, her magic power is stronger than that of an elephant. And this is also because her natural talent as a predator, while devouring prey, can also take away the magic power from the prey, thereby increasing her own magic power. A very terrifying talent. To say the least, it is on the same level as Lu Zimo's talent in terms of adaptability. However, if you think about it, you can understand it. How could Slime Jing be recognized by many players if she didn't have the talent, or even the skill, to make it this far? A top skill, transformation, which makes Slime calm and unpredictable. A top talent, predator, makes her magic power continue to grow. These are Slime Jing's two core skills and talents. Without one, Slime Jing wouldn't be able to grow so fast. And now, the talent predator and skill transformation and flexible use also allow Slime Jing to have a variety of different fighting postures. Yin, crying again, Slime Jing also took a deep look at Lu Zimo and flew decisively towards the depths of the woods. She wasn't good at aerial combat after all. Fighting with Lu Zimo in the sky, the ending is already fatal. So, she made another choice. That is to rush into the woods and open up a new battlefield on the earth. In this regard, Lu Zimo chose to follow after hesitation. No matter the sky or the earth, he is fearless. But now, it's just a discussion. Therefore, there is no need to consider geographical advantages. What's more important is to see the strength of this slime. However, not long after, following the slime to the earth, Lu Zimo also saw the slime transform again, and turned into a human form again. A very stunning girl, a slender figure, hidden under the mask, is a pair of very clear and clean blue eyes. And that fair and delicate skin. In a daze, he walked out of the scroll. And this is Slime Jing's humanoid posture. This is also her regular combat posture. The terrifying blue magic power continues to surge. Visible to the naked eye, this humanoid girl actually has a blue lightsaber condensed in her hand. It seems that the high-tech products are full of dreamy texture. And this is a light sword where the rich magic power is materialized and condensed. In this way, we can also see how strong this guy's magic power is. It's still a human posture, comfortable. As she spoke softly, the corners of the girl's mouth curled up slightly. I was a human for 16 years in my previous life. It's only been a year or two since slime was fully prepared in this life. Therefore, relying on her transformation skills, she constantly tried to change back to a human form. Although maintaining such a human posture will continue to consume magic power, Jing is very happy. She is most familiar with human postures. Only with the human posture of 007 can she exert her greatest combat power. The left hand condenses a terrifying magic ball, and the right hand holds a terrifying magic light sword. From left to right, she interprets her fighting to the extreme. And now, she moved. The body was like a thunderous giant, crossing dozens of meters in an instant and arriving in front of Lu Zimo. The blue magic sword in his hand was raised high. But the next moment, Jing's expression changed. Because, the moment she raised her sword, a sickle was blocked in front of her. Even faster than her, as if he had expected it. What's even more terrifying is that another sickle has already brought a circle of black sword energy, slashing towards her from another direction. Not good. With a thought in his mind, Slime Jing raised his left hand and decisively formed a magic shield. Click. There was just a crisp sound, the blue magic shield shattered instantly, and a more ferocious slash came. I am the scythe of blades who is best at melee combat. The soft murmur, like a whisper in the ear, made Slime Jing's expression suddenly change. Immediately afterwards, shua, shua, shua. A series of slashes came like a violent storm. Bang, bang, bang. There were crisp sounds one after another, and in a hurry, Slime Jing, who was blocking with her sword, started her passive blocking career for the first time. And this block lasted for several minutes. The increasingly sharp slashes seemed to tear everything apart. Unimaginable sharpness comes through the body. If it weren't for this body, it would be the product of deformation after all, and it would probably have been scarred long ago. Very scary. Shocked, Slime once again realized the terror of Lu Zimo's close combat. Completely, without giving anyone the slightest chance to resist. Defending and waiting to attack, the two swords rotated, but they were quick, ruthless, and accurate to the extreme. Magic storm. Another violent shouting. With Slime Jing as the center, a terrifying blue storm erupted. Another magic storm, just to force Lu Zimo back. However, this time, everything was not as she expected. Dark energy ball. While whispering softly, a black energy ball condensed from unknown time suddenly erupted next to Slime Jing. Boom! Just a loud noise was heard, and the ground was shaking continuously. The terrible magic collision caused a shocking storm. All around, it seemed like a level 12 storm was blowing, and countless trees and boulders were submerged in the terrible wind and waves. And in the distance, in the horrified eyes of monster players, it's like the heaven and earth are divided. Half black, half blue. They occupied half of the world respectively, swallowing everything up. But this time, the aftermath of their collision swept hundreds of meters around. Even the monster players in the distance retreated one after another. Monsters, really monsters. Is this the strength of top players? I guess, this is not on the same level at all. I feel like any one of them can kill me instantly. One after another, many monster players were shocked. In some cases, the corners of the eyes can't stop twitching. On the other side, Ali, Qingfeng Yinggong and Chowman were also a little stunned. They know a lot about Lu Zimo's strength. But now, this slime player can actually fight Lu Zimo back and forth. It's really a surprise, but I have to say that this slime is very strong. Can you be strong? You know, her opponent is. With a sigh, Sansalu, a big fan of Lu Zimo, was also a little excited. Time passed slowly, and the battle between the two top-level mid-level monsters, which were infinitely close to the top-level monsters, gradually came to an end. The land with a radius of 1 kilometer was razed to the ground. Countless trees were turned into pieces. Even the earth was riddled with holes due to the energy clash between the two. And now, he slowly raised his eyes and looked at the humanoid figures with sweat oozing from their foreheads not far away. Lu Zimo also slowly put away his sickle. The battle is almost over. It's not a life and death fight, just click and stop. You are so strong. You are not weak either. Speaking softly, Lu Zimo did not hide the admiration on his face. I haven't encountered such a strong enemy for a long time. I was actually able to fight him back and forth. Of course, this is also because Lu Zimo did not use all his strength. For example, in terms of strength and speed, he only exerted 70% to 80% and retained 20%. In terms of skills, several of his core skills were not used. With so many monster players watching the battle, it was impossible for Lu Zimo to reveal his trump card. Especially Death Charge, this is a very terrifying skill. If it is used, I am afraid that a single encounter will be enough to tear Slime Jing's body apart. However, considering that the slime's body was the product of deformation, Lu Zimo was not sure whether she would be injured. It's just that one thing is for sure. That is, she is no match for me. While whispering softly, countless crystalline spider threads continued to spread out from the ground under Lu Zimo's feet. At this time, if you look into the depths of the earth under Lu Zimo's feet, you can suddenly see a very huge spider web that has been woven at some point. This is a trap, a spider web trap buried deep in the earth. If Lu Zimo thought about it, these crystal spider silks buried in the earth would burst out from the earth and penetrate everything. And this is also a killing move. The more trump cards, the better. And Lu Zimo is the one who likes to hide cards the most. A core skill, Death Charge, and a god-level spider silk are enough for Lu Zimo to win unexpectedly. But Lu Zimo did not flop. Not only these two trump cards, the sonic skill Sound Kill is also good. Therefore, we can also see from here how much is retained in Lu Zi. However, this Slime Jing should have some reservations. Her ability is to transform. If she swallows some powerful monsters, and masters some terrifying skills, it is possible. While muttering softly, Lu Zimo also made some guesses. And this time, boom, along with the terrifying roar, a blue magical light bloomed in the distance, and a strange blue creature like jelly slowly jumped out from the blue light. This is the true form of slime. And now, the battle is over, and she no longer has to maintain a fighting posture. However, if you pay attention to Slime Jing's eyes at this time, you will definitely find that the way she looks at Lu Zimo is full of surprise. Powerful, really strong. It was more than one level stronger than the unicorns and other monsters she had seen. Moreover, what is even more surprising is that this guy seems to have reservations. At night, like a light blue curtain covering the depths of the woods. At this time, in a valley, several figures were sitting together quietly. A black spider, a huddled cyan eagle, and a three-colored deer. And at the end, there was a jelly-like slime. This is Slime. After the battle during the day, Slime also came to the canyon. However, she is not joining Lou Zemo's team. But So, you want me to hunt that lizard cave with you? Nodding slightly, Slime also continued. The Lizard Man Cave is the largest race around here, it is very powerful. Among them, the Lizard King is infinitely close to the upper-level monsters. Its strength is very terrifying. I fought against him, but at that time, I suffered a big loss, and he also had many tribesmen. So, at that time, I ran away as soon as possible. Listening quietly, Lou Zemo was also slightly startled. Unexpectedly, with Slime's strength, he could actually run away. However, at this time, Lou Zemo seemed to have thought of something, and asked, "What good thing does the Lizardman tribe have that makes you so persistent?" "Dragon blood grass." In the soft response, Slime Jing also showed a solemn look on his face. "Dragon blood grass? What is that?" The three-color fawn was also a little puzzled by the sudden inquiry. On the side, Ollie and Gong Chaoman also looked at each other. But at this moment, they didn't notice that Lou Zemo's expression had changed. Dragon blood grass, a legendary treasure. It is said to be a magical grass that is contaminated with dragon blood and then transformed. Very precious. This is especially true for monsters with dragon blood. Just because this kind of sacred grass can greatly improve the purity of dragon bloodline. You know, that's the dragon clan. The apex predator at the top of the food chain. Although they are monsters, countless intelligent beings already regard dragons as terrible existences second only to gods. But now, this kind of sacred grass can actually purify the dragon bloodline. Taking a deep breath, Lou Zemo also knew that his heart was moved. Just because he also has dragon blood. If he could get a few dragon blood grasses, he might have the hope of transforming his life again and becoming a high-level monster. Low-level monsters, mid-level monsters, high-level monsters, and even legendary-level monsters. This is not divided according to strength, but according to bloodline. Just like people are divided into 3, 6 or 9 levels, monsters are also divided into 3, 6 or 9 levels. The more terrifying the bloodline is, the more terrifying the potential is. All abilities and even talents will be beyond the imagination of ordinary monsters. Lou Zemo, from an ordinary monster, until now, he has the bloodline of a top-level monster. But if he obtains the dragon blood grass, then he has several possibilities to try to attack the bloodline of high-level monsters. At that time, his life level will once again become rich. Taking a deep breath, Lou Zemo became more and more excited. Even the scarlet deep in his eyes became brighter and brighter. "You don't have dragon blood, do you?" Suddenly asking, Lou Zemo also looked at Slime Jing not far away. This girl doesn't have dragon blood, so why would she be interested in dragon blood grass, the most precious treasure of dragons? "No, I have." With a chuckle, Slime Jing also said bluntly. "As long as I devour the Lizard Queen, I will have it. And at that time, with the help of the dragon blood grass carefully cultivated by the Lizard Clan, I can completely attack the upper monsters." During a period of silence, Lou Zemo also took a deep look at this slime that seemed harmless to humans and animals. Good guy, what a ruthless person. The roads are all planned. Is it any wonder that she needs to seek cooperation from others? I originally planned to find the unicorn corners, but now it seems that you are the best. One of them is not strong enough, and the other is greedy. But you are different. If you and I work together, even if we split it equally, those dragon blood grass will be enough. While recounting again, Slime Jing didn't even look at Qingfeng Yingong Chaoman, Ollie and others. Now, she only has Lou Zemo in her eyes. If Lou Zemo agrees, they can take action tomorrow. Are you sure? After asking, Lou Zemo was also a little curious. Nodding slightly, Slime Jing also said bluntly. The lizard people live in caves. Although there are thousands of them, you and I should be enough to kill, especially your spider web, if it is arranged well. The words were not finished yet, but the killing intent in Slime Jing's words was chilling. I have to say, this slime is a bit cruel. It's not as harmless as it seems on the surface. Thousands of lizard men all wanted to kill. You know, lizard people are also humans. In the previous life, this was no less than. But forget it. This life is not the previous life. Moreover, in this world, either you die or I die. In order to become stronger, there is no right or wrong. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.